Appeals of Tuesday, September 25th, to order. First action on the minutes.
Yeah, we just need a motion for the August 28th only, 2018 minutes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meetings are okay.
Calling the first case. You done? Calling the first case for extension, calling BOA 621-157, 47 Hosmer Street. Is Hosmer Street here?
Yeah.
Name and address for the record, please.
Lisa Lewis, 20 Eustis Street, Roxbury.
Can you explain, tell us why you need an extension?
Yes, we've done the first phase of the project, which was a rehabilitation of 2 historic buildings. The third phase is a greenhouse, and the has been being raised, and now the money has been raised, and we anticipate beginning construction in the spring.
You have a permit for the third phase? Are you looking to see extended?
We have a permit that's not been pulled yet, so we submitted for it, but it's kind of on hold until we submit the plans. So no, we don't have a building
So I'm
permit.
not quite clear what you need an extension for the approval for the variance.
Yes,
And when was that granted?
November 2016.
2016?
16?
Yes, 16.
Okay, so it's within the 2-year frame.
Make a one-year extension motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Calling the next case, BOA 608-081, 611 Columbia Road.
Also me.
Name and address for the record, please.
Lisa Lewis, 20 Eustis Street, Roxbury. So this is a similar situation. Our variance is about to expire. It'll expire on September 30th. We've been raising the money for the project, and now we have the funds necessary, and we've submitted for a permit and expect it any day.
We are making a motion for a one-year extension.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Thank
No.
you.
Calling the third case for extension, calling BOA 492-844, 165 Bowen Street. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Christopher Curtin, 25 Palmer Street, Waltham, Mass.
Can you explain your situation, please?
This property was granted variances back in 2015, and because of, it was tied up with 3 other pieces of property in the area, and including 217 D Street, and that was also granted variances, and the next door neighbor appealed because they were never received notices on the variance, and it was held up for 18 months. We lost financing, which forced us to basically sell all 4 properties. The new owner took possession of it about a month ago, and we're just trying to finalize the new construction financing to move forward.
So the sale hasn't gone through yet?
The sale has gone through, but the financing for construction has not yet.
Make a motion for 1 year.
Okay. I second that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, you got 1 year.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 607-692, 222 Rare Dana Avenue. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Attorney Lorraine Scatino, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. We're seeking a 1-year extension. The prospective purchaser has sufficient capital to proceed, but we need a 1-year extension on the matter.
When does the current expire?
The current expiration would be October 4th.
I think a one-year extension, a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All set.
Calling the next one, calling BOA 624-314, 33 Layden Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Don't get up.
Attorney Lorraine Scatino, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, Massachusetts. Here again for a 1-year extension. The appropriate financing has been put in place, and the final permitting is actually set to be completed probably any day now. We are just requesting a 1-year extension. The permit's set to expire on December 6th.
Make a motion for a 1-year extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're all set.
Calling next case for extension, calling BOA 505-714, 15 Commonwealth Avenue. I don't think he's here right now. We're going to hold that one off to the side. The applicant's not here. Calling the next case, BOA 413-033, 64 to 66 Gov Street. Gove Street, I've been corrected. It's Gove Street here. Name and address for the record, please. You Gove Street?
Yeah.
Okay. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sing Chen. The address 64 G Street.
Okay, can you explain why you need
My
extension?
architect, he tried waiting for coming here because I don't speak English well.
Okay, why don't we wait a little bit, and if he, when he's here, why don't you wave your hand, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay, we'll hold that one to the side as well. Take that one. Call the next case, BOA 544-286, 873 South Street. Name and address for the record, please.
William O'Brien, 116 Farquhar Street, Rosendale, Mass. 0212.
You want to explain why you need the extension?
Yeah, I've submitted everything to 1010 Mass Ave on the 23rd of May in 2015, and I'm still operating on a temporary certificate of occupancy and a temporary certificate of inspection because they haven't got to review this stuff as of yet. And I've been in there getting temporary certificate of occupancy and temporary certificate of inspections ever since, every 3 months.
So, can you explain what stage the project is at?
It's in limbo. And the project's done. We've been up and open for the last 2.5 years, operating under the temporary certs.
Okay,
So
so,
1010 Mass Ave haven't closed my ALT permit for the
Okay.
change of zoning. So
okay,
my
but you
2-year
are operating.
Oh, yeah, and my 2-year Board of Appeals decision is now expired, so I have to get an extension in order.
Okay, and it's already expired.
Yeah.
All right, well, we don't usually like doing that, but is there a motion?
Make a motion to extend for 1 year.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, all set.
Calling the lot, case for extensions, BOA 451-989, 168 H Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Attorney James O'Mara on behalf of the debtors. I have a business, the petitioners. I have a business address of 339 Dorchester Street in South Boston.
Explain your situation, please.
Yes, on September 19th, the PDA completed design review on the project. The plans are now heading back to ISD for final approval. Consequently, my clients are asking the board to grant an extension of the project.
Give a 1 year extension.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, has the architect for Gulf Street be here yet?
Well, we can go back to it. We'll start the 9:30 hearings. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Address, sir?
578 Galvin Boulevard.
What is it again?
578 Galvin Boulevard.
Second page.
Okay, for the record, calling BOA 815-385-578 Gallivan Boulevard. Name and address for the record, please.
John Doherty, 9 Fraser Street, Dorchester.
Okay, and what's your request?
To be fair,
And why?
the community, I was supposed to go in front of the Cedar Grove, but there was a bit of confusion, so I'm going back there now the first week in October.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Motion to defer.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We are really full in October, but we could try to squeeze it in October 30th.
Would that be enough time for you to meet with
That's
these?
perfect, yeah, October the 9th is the meeting
Okay.
for Cedar Grove. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Hearing none, we'll call the first case. Calling BOA 814-667-9 Glencoe Street. This is to demolish an existing one-family dwelling and erect a three-story, nine-unit residential building. Violations, Article 10, Section 1, a limitation of area of accessory uses. Article 51, Section 8, a multifamily dwelling is forbidden. Article 51, Section 9, lot area is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 51, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. And Article 51, Section 56, off-street parking is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is George Morency. I'm an attorney with the business address 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I'm joined to my right by my client, Patrick O'Sullivan. To my left by the project architect, Rob Pagayas. Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is an application for a new 9-unit building at 9 Glencoe Street. Glencoe, this is at the corner, almost to the corner of North Beacon Street. The size of the lot is 10,435 square feet. The zoning district is a 3F 4,000. The proposed building would be a 3-story building with 9 residential units. There would be 7 3-bedroom units and 2 2-bedroom units. The units range from a minimum of about 824 square feet for the smallest 2-bedroom up to about 1,100 square feet for the largest 3-bedroom. On average, they're about 1,000 square feet. The violations cited are for the multifamily use in the 3F district, for an insufficient lot size. Again, over 10,000 square feet is provided. There is a violation attributable to a limitation of area of accessory use. For the 9 units, there are 18 parking spaces on site that are programmed. So quite a bit of the site is taken up by parking. The code provides that accessory uses may take up no more than 25% of the area of the site. But the notion here was to get in as much parking as possible. 2 parking spaces per unit I think was satisfactory to the community, and it still leaves room for some green space on the site. There's a violation cited for excessive FAR. The maximum FAR in the district is 0.8. This comes in at just about 1.0, 1.040 to be precise. There is a usable open space insufficiency. As I said, this was a trade-off in terms of getting more parking onto the site. But there is still patches of green on the site, as is evident on the plans. There's a rear yard insufficiency cited. It's essentially a modal setback. The setback is not right to the front lot line. It does leave room for some green landscaping along the front lot line. There's a citation here for insufficient off-street parking, which is incorrect. The required off-street parking in the zoning district is 1.75 spaces per unit. For 1 to 9 units. As I mentioned, this proposal is providing 2 parking spaces per unit. That'll take any questions the members may have.
Okay, how are the plans, Mr. Bizzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions to the board? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Warren O'Reilly, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go in record in support. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Daniel Polanco. On behalf of Councilor Mark Seal, I'm also like to go on record in support.
Good morning, members of the board. Megan Camilla from Councilor Sabi Jorda's office. The council would like to go on record in support.
Chair, members of the board, Annabelle Gomes from the Brighton Improvement Association. We'd like to go on record in support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Jeff, the EPA recommendation is denial. What's that based on?
We'd like to see more green space.
Okay. Any other questions to the board? Have a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With BPDA design review?
Sure, with BPDA design review.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 831064, 17 Madeline Street. This is a proposed one-story rear addition and deck to an existing single-family dwelling. The violations, Article 51, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient, and Article 51, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
17 Madeline Street, right Mass, Stephen Tolman.
Mr. Tolman?
Yes.
Would you like to tell us about your project?
Yes, it's adding about 24 by 14 feet off the back for family room and bathroom.
Onto your existing
Onto the existing.
single-family home.
It's a cape and there's no bathroom on the ground floor. As we're getting older, it'll be a little more comfortable.
You're young and hard. Oh,
Thanks.
okay, how are the drawings, Mr. Kazani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Warren O'Reilly, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go in record in support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Daniel Polanco, also on behalf of Councilor Mark Sioma, I'd like to go on record in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Megan Camella from Councilor Sabi George's office. Councilor would like to go on record in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council Elijah Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Annabelle Gomes from the Brighton Austin Improvement Association would like to go on record in support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All those opposed? You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 861-926, 116 Murdoch Street.
Yeah, I'm going to call it after this one.
This is a, I'm sorry, I can give this one here. This is a rebuild of front porch, a violation of Article 9, Section 1. The new front porch is an extension of existing non-conforming use, and Article 51, Section 9, insufficient front yard setback. Name and address for the record, please.
Nicholas Papakarikos, 116 Murdoch Street, Brighton, Mass.
Can you describe the project, please?
Sure. It's this is my family home for the last 53 years. My wife and I moved back. This porch predates the purchase of the property by my family back in 1965. All we're asking to do is to, I think it's a few inches wider. It's just in very bad repair. My wife has multiple sclerosis. She doesn't use a wheelchair. She walks, but she's fallen several times on the steps. She's had a concussion because of this. So we're just looking to get the building permit to be able to rebuild this. We've had the abutters meeting. There's been nothing but support for the change. Just looking to improve the property. And
So you're rebuilding an existing front porch?
Yes.
So what violations does that trigger?
my understanding is that there was a pre-existing non-conforming use prior to us owning the property back in 1965. I wasn't even aware of it. So I guess they have to renew it or something. I'm not quite sure exactly what the issue is. And I think the existing porch, the new porch will be, I think, 4 or 5 inches wider, but not further front. And there's probably 15 feet of setback from the road. This is a corner lot. There's grass around, so we're not changing any of the green space. We're not making it lower, if anything, not taller. But it's just literally falling apart.
How are the plans, Mr. Mazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Warren O'Reilly, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Daniel Polanco, on behalf of Councilor Mark Siomo, also like to go on record in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Megan Camella from Councilor Sabi George's. The council would like to go on record in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of Council Elijah Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Annabelle Gomes from the Brighton Austin Improvement Association would like to go record in support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? I have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. I don't think we need to design it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're all set. Good luck.
You're going to go back to the extension to the beginning. For the record, BOA 505-714, 15 Commonwealth Ave will be heard at next month's meeting. But I'm going to call the next case, BOA 41, so I'm going to make a motion for deferral on 15 Commonwealth Ave.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Next case, BOA 413-033, 64 to 66 Grove Street. Name and address for the record, please.
6466 Gold Street, East Boston. Good morning.
Your name, sir?
My name, sir, is Walter Lemus, and Mr. Sing-Ming Chang, the owner. I'm here representing the owner, proposed building 64 Gold Street, East Boston, which is in the flood zone. As a result of satisfying the Boston Conservation Commission's numerous requests, hearing postponements, including the architect and engineer's response time, submitting all required documentation have caused us to go past the BOO extension time period. Our next hearing with the Boston Conservation Commission is on October 3rd to get the final approvals on all required documentation presented thus far. We are respectively requesting an extension on the decision granted May 23rd, 2017, case number 430033, permit ERT 379897, to keep the ISD process going and eventually get the building permit to erect the proposed six-family building located at 6466 Grove Street, East Boston. Thank you.
So you think that this will be wrapped up by October 3rd?
I would hope so, yes. It's been going on for a long time. We've given them everything they need. They just have to get final approvals.
Okay. Have a motion, please.
A motion to grant the extension.
1 year extension?
Yes, sir.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you so much.
All right, go back to the 9:30 hearings. Calling the next case, calling BOA 856-409-30 Penniman Road. This is an erect a 7-story building with 44 residential units, 2 artist live work units, and 42 parking spaces. Demolition of an existing building. The violation is Article 51, Section 19, a multifamily dwelling is forbidden. Article 51, Section 20, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 51, Section 20, the building height is excessive. Article 51, Section 20, the usable open space is insufficient. And Article 51, Section 20, rear yard is insufficient. Article 51, Section 56, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 51, Section 56, off-street loading is insufficient. And Article 51, Section 56, off-street parking, loading requirements, parking design. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Secretary, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Attorney Joe Hanley, Multi-Miller, 28 State Street in Boston. With me to my right is the project architect, David O'Sullivan, and to my far right are the 2 representatives of the developer ownership group, Jumbo Capital, Steve Laverty and Brad Spencer. Mr. Chair, passed out for the board some handouts illustrating the background on this BPDA Article 80 small project, which was approved by the BPDA in August. Stuff on the project, site context and conditions, as well as the plans, as well as our memorandum of suggested zoning compliance and a copy of the article to the board memo. Just quickly to give you an overview. You talk about a unique property site as required for zoning. This particular project meets that and then some. 30 Penniman Road is situated in the outdated local industrial zoning sub-district along the Mass Pike, bordered by Rug Road and Braintree Street. It is surrounded by a long, distressed, underutilized property area that has had significant environmental remediation over the years. This development came forward as a result of the board's prior approval for the Michaels Company at 40 Rug Road and their new residential development that went through Article 80 large project and was asked to do a component of condominium home ownership. My client was approached by the Michaels Company because in 2008 they had purchased the rights and performed on Alston's first condominium home ownership project of any scale next door, a 36-unit condominium project which Jumbo executed on. So the property site itself, which you'll see in materials, is a derelict building that has been subject to ISD condemnation. It is a loft building with a series of industrial uses that my clients have purchased. It's already a non-conforming building with respect to height, setbacks, and FAR. And what we are proposing to do, you'll see in the photos, is to continue the introduction of home ownership in this area that now happens to be at the foot of Boston Landing and public transportation, less than a quarter mile introduce a 46-unit condominium homeownership program at 7 stories and with 42 parking spaces, so an appropriate and generous allocation of parking for homeownership. 6 affordable units. The other thing I will tell you about this, directly across the street from us is a very small pocket park in the city of Boston. And this project, through the BPDA process, has done a significant amount of contribution to be stewards of that park, $1,000 a unit. We've also worked with the community to address issues of sustainability for home ownership with respect to the percentage of home ownership. We came out and agreed with the process with neighborhood groups that we would do 51%, agreed 51% owner occupancy as part of the condominium docs. It has of late agreed to up that again to 60% as part of this proposal. And the final thing I'll say with respect to the community outreach, I've always had a good relationship with the ACA, DAIA. This location, we had 3 meetings with the ACA, 2 in May, 1 in June. They voted to oppose the project and provided us with a letter. We're not able to meet all of their demands and requests, but we were able to address several of them. It's been suggested that we continue to meet with them. At this point, we've brought this to a point where we think it's consistent with EPA approvals and policies of the city, and it's also appropriate for grant of relief. And so it's difficult to make, of course, everyone happy, but this team has tried, and this team also has a track record at this location for providing home ownership in a neighborhood that suffers from a pretty big disparity of rental versus condominiums.
Is the current building vacant?
Yes, yeah, by order of the building.
How long, when was that order issued?
18 months, maybe?
Couple years ago.
2 years, maybe, somewhere not really. There was a fire there, you might recall, there was a fire there probably about a year and a half ago. This is the seller. My clients are just purchasing it from the prior owner. There was some sort of alleged raid or something late at night, and the commissioner had to go to the site. It's been a real problem property for the neighborhood. This particular area, you don't have any direct residential abutters. A lot of it is, if you went down there, a lot of it is really just old uses in the local industrial that are no longer occupied and performing. And so this project, while it stands alone, it's also part of the overall master plan of this sort of peninsula plan.
No. Well, I want to ask about this. So I'm looking at the site plan.
Yep.
20 Penniman Road is built.
Yes, sir. And that was before Michael's, and it was approved before we knew there was going to be a train, right? So it's built, it's CO'd. There are
How many units is 20 Penniman?
36.
And is that condo or?
Yes. First of its type.
Okay, and 30 Penniman is what's before us today, and then the proposed buildings A, B, and C.
For the Michael's group, apartments you approved previously.
Okay.
And so Michael's is.
They've been approved?
Yes. Yeah, they were large
Under
projects.
construction?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
They're aiming for first part of the new year to start remediation and demolition.
Okay, and the proposed parking, when is that scheduled in relation to all? So is all of this going to all happen at the same time in theory?
Thank you. So it's another reason that, while I'd love to take more time to work with the neighborhood groups, these projects have to proceed at the same time. So the Michaels Company, as I understand it, their construction drawings are complete. They're in for permitting. It's a much larger project, but my clients have, 36 units of home ownership that is next to this derelict building that we're seeking to replace, but also is in the middle of the construction. So we're trying to utilize economies of scale, again, to be their offset for
So 30 Penniman is 44 units. How many units are in?
46.
I mean, how many units are in A, B, and C? 260. So this is a massive project. but-
Rental, well, theirs is correct, and we're separate from them, but, again, we're part of, and that's sort of,
Part of the master plan.
you know, some of the confusion.
Part of our ideal construction management plan would be to piggyback off the construction and mobilization of the Michaels Organization's
Right,
project.
I guess that's where I was heading.
And so
Is
there's
this
some-
all kind of gonna be,
I think it's advantageous for the construction, it's advantageous for the neighborhood to have these joint. And so there's a time frame we're trying to solve for.
is there a construction manager that's been selected for the?
There's, I can't, well, to be on record, I can't speak for the Michaels organization. I believe there is one selected, engaged for pre-con services only. I don't know if they've awarded them the full construction package.
Okay.
We have been collaborating with
You know
them.
who that is, or is that not something?
I believe it's public that Cranshaw has been selected for pre-con.
Okay.
And we have collaborated with them informally on construction management plans, logistic plans, bidding.
Okay, all right, so, and can you talk about the affordable units and how that's gonna work? Actually, talk about the unit sizes in general.
Yeah, so-
And then how the affordables fit in.
So the project has two artist lofts that are direct access from the outside that are 639 square feet and 785 square feet. Right, residential, yeah, artist
The
lofts.
city said those, that was a good program, so that they're loft on the ground.
We have 8 two-bedrooms ranging from 797 to 1125. We have 1 two-bedroom and den at 1,300 square feet, 20 one-bedrooms ranging from 610 to 762, 10 one-bedroom and dens from 795 to 910, and 5 studios at 530 square feet.
Okay.
And so the affordables.
Go ahead,
Yeah, so the affordables of the 6 units, homeownership, which is also helping, obviously, in the neighborhood. So 3 of the 6 will be at 80% of AMI, in accordance with the IDP. The other 3 will be at 100% of AMI.
Which of the?
And so we're working through the Article 80 process now to designate the units in the building. But they'll be commensurate with the
Proportional.
median of bedroom counts, and obviously not stacked. We think the 2 on the ground floor that have independent egress to the park for students will be also really nice improvements. And so we're working that out with fair housing.
Okay. How are the drawings just presented?
Drawings are adequate. Can I just ask one question, please? So out of the 46 units, how many units are affordable, and they're all home ownership?
Yes, ma'am.
And
6.
6 of them are affordable?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, and we also delivered on affordable housing in the development next door that's on CO right now.
And how many of them did you develop, or how many went on for the one next door?
There was 36 in total, 6 were affordable.
Yep. So we did more than the required percentage, I think it's 16% there, so the 12 affordable homeownership units, 2.
These are the 2 developments.
Right.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Warren O'Reilly from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Daniel Polanco on behalf of Councilor Mark Siomo, also like to go on record in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Annabelle Gomes from the Brighton Austin Improvement Association. Actually, would like a correction. One of the things that we voted against was that there wasn't a commitment to home ownership, and he did say right now that there is 100% home ownership. Is that something that's going to be written into the condo documents?
Well, 6 units are affordable now.
No, she's.
No, home
ownership.
ownership.
No, home ownership.
Home ownership.
Yes, ma'am, sorry. 60%. When we started the process, we had been asked to come up with, because we're sort of trailblazing this issue together, how all's done right. So we had offered 51% condo docs just recently in response to some of the input. We've increase that to 60%.
It has to be owner occupied.
Right, so no more than 40% may be leased at any time. That's how that operates in the master deed.
Okay.
So it's not 100%. So we voted against it as well because we have an abundance of luxury apartments and condos being approved or being proposed to be built. And one of the things that we asked is that they increase the affordable unit percentage from the 13% that's required by the city. And there was no movement on that. And we really feel that going forward, giving variances to so many luxury homes being built, that we do need more affordable units being worked into that. And they were not willing to move on that. So we could not render our support to it.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Tony Tisadoro representing the Alston Civic Association. I have a point of clarification as well. The ACA never formally had an opportunity to oppose this project. There was appearances before our executive board and the membership on this project. There was considerable opposition expressed. As a result of that, the ACA executive board put together, and I think you guys have a copy of it, put together a pretty specific evaluation list for the proponents to help them address the concerns of the community. And we were hoping that they would avail themselves of the opportunity to get back to the membership and to the executive board and to address each one of the items, and they declined to do so. So therefore, we had formally expressed to the board a deferral in order for the proponents to formally respond to the executive board and to the membership. Each of the items, to us, this is a precedent-setting project. 7 stories is unique in that neighborhood. We just had a meeting of a prospective proposal at the corner of Linden Street and Cambridge Street, and one of the buildings being proposed is a 14-story building. This is what is happening. These developers are getting emboldened, but based on the envelope continually being pushed. The question that was just brought up earlier, the question is this, also too in terms of owner occupancy. Who are we building these condominiums for? Are we building them for investors, or are we building them for residents of the community? And I appreciate the proponents increasing their percentage to 60%, but they did so under pressure. They would have went with the 51% if they didn't hit any opposition. We have serious issues about the FAR at 4.1, the height at 80 feet. We have a problem that this building is directly across the street from Penniman Park, and the negative impacts that this potential building could have. Yes, Alston wants more condominiums, but they are not going to write a blank check to people just because they want to build condominiums. So other issues as well. This is a 26-foot wide street. That's what Penniman Road is, and you want to put up a 7-story building to the lot line on a 26-foot wide street? To us, that is completely unacceptable. So we'll stick to our original position. We would like to have this deferred and have the proponents step up to the plate and come back and formally respond to the issues that we brought up in that evaluation sheet. But if that's not the case, then we will formally oppose this project.
Thank you. So as I understand the issues that have been raised, one question is the percentage of guaranteed owner occupancy. Second is affordable. There are a number of affordable units, the absolute minimum 13% or above. The issue of height and the issue of FAR. You want to speak to?
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate Tony's outline that was provided to us. It was dated June 21st. I took that to be a vote of opposition, and that's how it was phrased. And it was after 3 meetings with the group. In the packet that I handed out, it actually takes you through the May 8th meeting with the ACA Executive Committee, May 16th, and then full.
Well, I'm more interested in your responding.
Having said that, but what I want to make clear is we are in a public review process as part of Article 8, and in deep appreciation for what was outlined. We responded to as many of those issues as we could. I think form over substance, if we have an opportunity to go back and say, we can't do this, we can't do that at a formal meeting, no, we also weren't invited to do that. So having said that, just to be clear, if you look at their letter, many of the concerns talked about supposedly 25% of studios. Not correct. We have about 10%, right? Cleared that up. Talked about the setback on the street. Hold on, these are things that we worked on. Setback on the street. This existing derelict building is at the street and not conforming. It's being taken down. The new building is part of the master plan with complete streets and is further set back than the existing structure to be removed. The park, we spent from June 21st to the August BPDA vote, of which there was also a public meeting, which Tony attended. And we did a detailed shadow study, which you're not required to do in small project review, but we did. It's enclosed for the record for you guys. It shows no major impact by virtue of the sundial. We know where the sun sets and the sun rises. So we have a fortuitous site with respect to the park. And then we were asked through the BPDA process to make a pretty extraordinary contribution of $1,000 a unit to be stewards of that little park, which is going to be magnificent. So to suggest that we haven't tried, and the 51%.
Hang on, Mr. Hess. Look, I asked you 4 things. I didn't ask you all those other things, so I would appreciate you respond.
Yep.
And one is the question, it's not a zoning issue, but it's a public policy issue for the city, the question of owner occupancy, and the concern about where we're heading as a city, and the related question of affordability. So that's one. The second was height.
Yep.
And the third was FAR.
So on the owner occupancy.
Just let's stick to those.
Yep.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. On the owner occupancy, tough to regulate, not necessarily something that the zoning board does. Me as an advocate and believing, having brought the first condos to Alston with the project next door in this team, we voluntarily came and said we would be willing to do the 51%. We're blazing new territory here, right? Together, I thought, with the neighborhood group. 70 Leo Birmingham, which you recently approved, also committed to 51%, right? The difference is, you heard about luxury, right? We're not building luxury. Alston and Brighton, this location is not Oak Square. It's not, it is a very challenging location where we are building a community where one doesn't necessarily exist. The other thing that Tony didn't mention is not a single abutting resident in the area has any issues with this. One, because there really are none. And two, because they recognize that there's a huge need to upgrade a site that's been contaminated and with home ownership most of the time. So then, correct, we were asked to do more. I continued to try to make things better, and we said, what if we go to 60% owner occupancy voluntarily? That's 5 more units. And so this team is asking the neighborhood and this board to allow us to work together, because it's not a layup. We can't just voluntarily add more IDP units on site. It's not a luxury location. It's not a luxury product, and we can't perform. It simply doesn't work, right? There's a reason why we have 13%. If I could add more, I would, but it doesn't work. And so we're willing to do what we can, and we ask for some help from government and the community as people who have performed in this neighborhood at a site that is not a luxury location. And so that's the owner occupancy. Willing to go up, please they appreciate it. Second piece on height. The building right now is not conforming. The building next to us is not conforming. If there's ever a place in the city of Boston to address the disparity of home ownership and the need for housing, it is as an industrial wasteland along the pipe. Especially when you have as evidence a shadow study that shows 0 impact on the park next door.
So can I ask, I mean, the maximum building height in that area is about 35 feet?
Correct.
And you're asking for 80 feet?
Right. We're asking for the maximum, and as you work on policy for middle-class housing, yes,
it's okay.
We're asking for the maximum we can build in order to provide a scale of housing in the neighborhood.
You also indicated that the other buildings next to it are non-conforming as well. Would you tell me what the heights are for those next to the building, those other buildings?
The 30 Penniman is somewhere around 50. 20, I'm sorry, the 20 Penniman, I believe is.
It's 5 stories.
Yeah,
It's 5 stories.
It's a 5.5 story, 5.5 story building. I think it's 50 something, 58 or something like that. The ones approved next to it for the Michaels Group are, I don't know the exact height, but they are 6-story buildings. 6 stories. So they're probably about 65 feet, I would guess. I don't have their drawings. We actually also took the top floor and set it back with working with BPDA. So the top floor is smaller than the floors below. So that from the sidewalk, you don't see the top floor. Our top is 6 feet, our top floor.
Okay. Any
It's
other
also
questions?
just quickly, it's a policy rationale here too. You had people talk about the Guest Street study, it was almost a decade ago now, before we had the new train station, right? This is an area that's very much in flux. The zoning is no question outdated. No one's building 35-foot buildings. We are able, by virtue of this unique site that doesn't cast a shadow, that has this, derelict building on it now, and we are able to meet the city's goals for housing by taking advantage of what the mid-rise will offer in a location that doesn't have impacts.
Okay. Any other questions, board?
Well, this seems to me to be city policy issues that you're then trying to conform to. I mean, you might be pushing the envelope, but are we going to hear what the city policy is with respect to this project?
In terms of?
Whether it should be approved or not.
The mayor's office.
I know. I'm anxiously waiting to hear that.
No, they.
Did they already do it?
A clearinghouse of that, of course, would be.
Yeah, they already did.
Barca-Lady approval.
No, I know.
Through the planning.
I just want to
agency.
reinforce the fact that it's been through that process.
It was approved in August, yeah.
The packet doesn't include any comments.
It's included in our board memo, which may or may not have been, but obviously if it's before this board, we recommend approval. Continued design review.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion to.
Testimony.
I'm sorry?
You do testimony?
Yeah, we did. Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review and ask you really tie this in to make sure that you guys work diligently with the neighborhood.
And continuing BPD.
Continued BPDA design review.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Second. Hang on.
Wait, we got a second.
Second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
So there's one opposition, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 823-802, 46 Murray Hill Road. On an existing parcel, erect a new construct single-family dwelling. The violations, Article 67, Section 33, accessory building. Oh, you're going for deferral?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Name and
apologize.
address for the record, please.
Attorney John Fulgini, 10 Forbes Road, Braintree, on 46 Murray Hill Road. The reason for this deferral is this property is located directly across from the Charles Sumner School in Rosendale, and want to continue to work with the community regarding parking issues and traffic flow. So we worked with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services as well as Council McCarthy's office, and they suggested that we allow additional more time to go back out to the community for that.
Motion for deferral.
Second.
How much more time do you need?
30 days, 45 days, whatever.
Get you better than that, you get to November.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
The date of 11/13, 11:30.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals before I move forward?
I thought that was that?
Deferrals? But no, for 9:30. For 9:30. Calling the next case, calling BOA 835. We'll take this one here. 835-025, 476 Beach Street. There's a companion case, BOA 835-034, 478 Beach Street. This is 476, construct a one-family residential and proposed lot to be subdivided from the larger lot with an existing two-family on it. A violation of Article 67, Section 32, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, Lot frontage is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, lot area is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, the lot width is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. This is for 478 Beach Street. It's to subdivide an existing lot into two lots, one to keep the existing building, the other to allow new construction of one-family residential. Violations, Article 67, Section 9, the frontage is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, lot area is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, the lot width is insufficient. Article 67, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 67, Section 9, the usable open space is insufficient. And Article 67, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Elliot Guerrero, 20 Valencia Road, Hyde Park. I'm with Jorge Fortin, the owner of 478 Beach Street.
Can you tell us what you're proposing?
So 476-478 Beach Street is a subdivision. Currently, the existing lot has 9,199 square feet, two-family dwelling. We propose to divide the lot in half in equal parts. 478 Beach Street would remain as a two-family, and the new proposed lot would be a single-family dwelling. Currently, the owner occupies one of the units in his property. It's multi-generational, him and his wife, children, grandchildren. He'd like to build a single family for him and his wife and keep the current unit for his other family members. He's been in the neighborhood for about 23 years.
Okay, and the violations are what?
So there are numerous violations. The first one is the lot area insufficient. With the area is currently zoned as a two-family, 5,000 square feet. So we would have less than the minimum. We'd have about 4,200 square feet. That's actually not uncommon for the area. About 1/3 of the lots in that block have less than 5,000 square feet. The lot width insufficient. That we have we're proposing 47 feet. The minimum is 50 feet for the proposed lot. We're close to meeting the requirement. Again, that's pretty typical for that area. For the floor area ratio excessive, for the new proposed building, we're actually below the maximum. The existing structure would actually be increased because of the reduction in the lot, but we're actually not making any changes to the existing building. And the usable open space is insufficient. I think that's in regards to the existing two-family. Because it's 5,000 minimum, we don't have the extra space for the second unit. But again, on the proposed lot, we do have sufficient open space because it's only a one-family. Side yard insufficiency, the minimum for that area is 10 feet. We're proposing 7.5 feet. And the frontage is insufficient. Again, the frontage is 50 feet. For the proposed, we're at 47 feet. So we're close. I don't know that we were cited for parking. We have on-site parking for one vehicle, but I don't know that that's actually.
Street parking are cited.
Oh, we were cited for that?
Yeah.
Well, we do have sufficient parking on each lot. For the proposed, we do have for two vehicles, but for the existing, it's probably, we do have for two as well.
Mr. Bassani, how are the drawings?
The drawings are adequate. I have a question. On the left side, you are parking. Why not just extend the driveway all the way back to avoid any front yard parking?
Oh, you mean to extend the existing driveway back?
No, on the other side, on the building that you're building.
Yeah, we could do that. The only reason is, well, we do have close to 11 feet, so we could extend the driveway all the way to the back.
Did you consider doing a shared driveway and therefore having only one curb cut rather than two?
We considered that, but we wanted to have each lot be independent.
Yeah, but the problem is that you're not really that independent, because in order for the existing lots parking to work, it has to extend into and onto the proposed lot. You have an easement that does that?
Yes, that's correct. We may need, if we can't relocate the existing curb cut, we would need an easement.
Well, you can't relocate. I mean, if you relocate the existing curb cut, and in order to get it solely on the property of the existing residents, then you would have 100% front yard parking. If you moved it slightly to the left and combined, so there was one entrance into the both properties, and drive back and share, have a shared driveway.
Yes,
The concern is the movement of curbs, and having now two curbs where you can get away with just having one. The more curbs you have, the more public space is taken away.
Yeah. I think we'd be open to consider, or if that was a requirement for approval, we would do a shared driveway for both lots and not have to do another curb cut. Plus, we'd also have to relocate an existing utility pole, so, yeah.
It's only money.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone here to speak in support of the project?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Joe Coppinger, Office of Neighborhood Services, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of this project.
Good morning, Walter Applewhite, Council McCarthy's office. We'd also like to go on record as support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to grant the zoning relief for the erection of a new dwelling. We'd also like to put a proviso on for aggressive BPDA design review for context, and also BPDA is to look into developing a shared driveway.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set with those provisos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I get Cedar Street? You're going to defer? And for the record, calling BOA 842-247-75 to 77 Cedar Street. Come on up here, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Duggan, 22 McGrath Highway, Somerville.
Going to defer.
Yes, I am. So Yulin Coleman is longer with the agency. I'm taking over. So I just wanted to kind of get more information and go over the actual permit.
How much more time did you need?
30 days.
We're into November, so.
Sorry?
We're into November.
Okay.
So we won't be getting October dates.
Can I get a motion?
Motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll give you a date.
You have 11:13
Thank you so much.
at 11:30.
Thank you.
It's now 10:35. I'm going to call the 10:30 hearings. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? Counselor, address, please.
274-276 Athens Street.
Okay, give me 2 seconds here if I can get the address. Yep. BOA 840-518, 274 Athens Street. Companion case BOA 840-519, 276 Athens Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Tim Johnson, architect, 190 Old Colony Ave, Boston. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we had an abutters meeting July 12th, sent out an invitation to the local civic association. They did not respond. We just heard from them yesterday. They'd like us in their October meeting. So we respectfully request a deferral.
Motion to defer.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed?
We're into November 27th.
Could I do a later, or earlier or later date than the 27th, sir?
You can do it December 11th.
December 11th.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Address, please.
870 Fifth Street.
Hold on, Steve. We'll find it here. What was it again? Sorry.
870 East Fifth Street.
For the record, calling BOA 835-144, Name and 870 East First Street, East Fifth Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty and Miller, 28 State Street in Boston. John Allison from Neighborhood Services yesterday asked us if we would defer to meet with a couple of people in the neighborhood that still had concerns about the project, so we're here requesting a deferral.
Motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
November 27th.
Thank you.
Address, Counselor?
There's 3 addresses on this. They're all companion cases.
Caulfield?
12 Caulfield, 14
Okay.
Caulfield.
I'll call them in for the record, calling BOA 844-006, 12 Caulfield Street, BOA 844-004, 14 Caulfield Street, and BOA 844-007, 24 Elder Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney John Plugini, 10 Forbes Road in Braintree. The reason for this requested deferral is the advertisement that went out did not match the scope of work that was being done. So my conversations with Board's counsel is it would have to be re-advertised, so that's why we're requesting a deferral.
Motion to defer.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
We have a date of 11/13 at 11:30.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? Hearing none, we'll go back to the 9:30 cases. Calling BOA 816-676, 2149 to 2151 Dorchester Avenue. This is a building addition to an existing building, front yard, 4-unit occupancy to remain the same. Violations, Article 65, Section 8, a multifamily dwelling is forbidden. And Article 65, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and the board. My name is John Barry. I'm the attorney for the project, the zoning attorney for the project.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, James Christopher, RCLC with the project architects with the business address of 415 Neponset Ave. The proposal for this project is to construct a new addition to the front of an existing 4-unit building. There's no change to occupancy. The use violation is an extension of a pre-existing non-conforming condition at 4 units. The addition currently sets back 7'7" at its closest point to the sidewalk, and we believe it's consistent with the modal. We had an abutters meeting, which the project was met with some mixed support of opposition and support, and we also met with the civic group, who voted not to support the project.
Can you walk us through the violations?
The 2 violations are, the first violation is multifamily dwelling forbidden. We are not changing the occupancy. It was an existing 4-family. It is staying a 4-family. And the second violation is the front yard violation. The front yard that is in the plans right now is set further back than the setback that's allowed in this area, which is 5 feet. But what the violation that was listed for is for SEBA, which is basically the average of the modal along that street. And the plans that are provided to the board, on the very first page, you can see the modal and the alignment that is listed. We believe that the house is within the modal, as you can see to the east. If you're facing the front of the property to the east, many of the existing houses are beyond that SEBA modal, and to the left, some are not. So that is an average. That is not a set dimensional requirement. It is an average.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pizzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Are there any questions from the board? So this is the existing structure staying intact, and it's simply being moved.
It is an addition in the front, yes.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Right now, based on the picture, it kind of looks like there's front yard parking. Is that how it's been used?
Yeah, and we believe it's not legal front yard parking. The area is paved and vehicles have been parking there. It's not, there is no use of premise permit to have it as legal parking.
Can I just a quick question? So is it the front porch that?
Yes, so basically if you go to sheet, I think the
But you still have the porch, you're not
Right.
removing.
Yes, there'll be so if you look at sheet A1, you can see in the floor plan, currently on the photographs, it shows that the front porch, and there's a handicapped accessible ramp at the front of the property with the parking that extends beyond that. So that ramp and porch will be enclosed, it'll come out a little closer, further to the street. We'll still have the handicapped accessible ramp, but now it'll be enclosed in the building. And from a design element, we've gone with a pretty traditional double bow at the front, so that now the accessibility is maintained inside of the building and the parking is removed from the front yard, which is illegal parking anymore.
All right, is there anyone to speak on behalf of the project?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Patrick Vandell, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We're here to offer our full support of this project.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Joe McEachran, City Councilor, Frank Baker's office would like to go on record in support.
Oh, by the way, I don't think Mr. Knight, can I ask you about the drawings? Yes. Yeah, okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve?
Second.
With continued BPDA design review?
No.
No? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you, members. 830-941, 28 Dick Street. This is to legalize Unit 3 on the 3rd floor and renovate and change Boxer from a 2-family to a 3-family dwelling and propose 3 off-street parking. Violation Article 65, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive, and Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney John Plugini, 10 Forbes Road in Braintree, and with me is Ronnie Nunes, who is the owner of the of 28 Dick Street. So the proposal before you, the zoning in this area is 3F5000. This is an existing 3-family house. The issue is it's 5,000 for the first 2 units, and it would be 2,500 for the 3rd unit under the zoning code. And they're basically 36 feet short on this. It's been for 15 years, has been a 3-family home. I provided you a packet today, and with that, you'll see that there's a letter of support from St. Mark's Civic Association. So in essence, we're just looking to legalize the 3-family use. And additionally, through the community process, the parking requirement in this neighborhood is 1 space per unit. But through negotiations with the neighborhood, and those plans have been, the updated site plan has been provided to Mr. Pisani, shows that there will be 2 parking spaces per condominium unit.
So there's no construction plan, it's just...
The building is staying exactly as it is, so we would request that there would be no BPI if it were approved.
It is currently being used as a 3-family.
For the last 15 years, correct.
Has it been taxed that way?
Assessed and taxed as a 3.
How are the drawings, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of the project proposal?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Patrick Vandell, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record in support of this project.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Joe McEachran, City Councilor, Frank Baker's office would like to go on record in support.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Any questions on the board?
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling BOA 798-863, 11 Inwood Street. This is a proposed new 3-family wood frame construction on an existing vacant lot. The violation is Article 65, Section 65-8. The floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 65, 65-8, the lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 65-8, front yard is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, additional lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot width is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Stuart Schreier. My office is at 1005 Dorchester Avenue in Dorchester. With me is Neem Nguyen, who's one of the owners of the property. This is a proposal to build a new 3-family house. The lot, admittedly, is a little small, but that's what the average lot on that street is. The lot's 2,964 square feet. The house to the right is a 3-family. The house to the left is a 3-family. The house behind is a 3-family. All the way around it, there are 3-family homes.
What are the lot sizes on those homes?
All similar. They're all very similar. They might be 2,800, 2,900, 3,000. Behind it might be a little bigger on Norton Street. It might be 3,500. The way they're going to make this lot work is the first floor apartment's going to be a little smaller than the other apartments. There's going to be a 900 approximately square foot apartment on the first floor. What that'll allow them to do is have the turning radius to put the parking spaces behind, because there'll be a porch on the second, there'll be, not porches, but there'll be just 2 beams coming down to support a second floor which sticks out to the rear. And what that'll do is give them the turning radius to park 3 cars behind the house, and they'll have sufficient parking. The second floor will be a little larger, closer to maybe 1,250 square feet. Third floor will be 1,250 square feet. These will be rental units, which are sorely needed in the neighborhood. There's just a dearth of houses in Dorchester that are still rental. So many houses have been turned into condominiums. People need rental housing. My client owns other rental housing in the neighborhood and intends to rent the house.
How are the drawings, Mr. Denani?
Drawings are adequate. Counselor, the intent is to have a shared driveway extended between the 2 properties. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that will obviously minimize the curb cuts, leaving as much parking in the street. And my client owns the house next door, which is a 3-family house. And that will allow them ultimately to put at least 1 or 2 parking spaces behind the other house.
Thank you.
Seems to me that we need serious BRA design review with a cantilever second floor.
Yeah, that was our recommendation.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the proposal?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Christine Brandeo, Mayor, Office of Neighborhood Services. I'd like to go on record in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dustin Gardner on behalf of Council President Andrea Campbell's office, we'd like to go on record in support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Peter DeGray. I'm here representing my brother, Jermaine DeGray, who owns 9 Inwood Street, which is a property that abuts this property in Dorchester. We're very concerned that the setbacks, the side yard setbacks and the front yard setbacks will not destroy the character of the property, my brother's property. He has tenants living in that property, low-income housing tenants in that property. Whether the light will deprive these tenants of light, whether the side yard will give them adequate breathing room with the properties. My brother cleaned out that lot personally. He did such a good job doing it that the mayor had a press conference in front of that house. Now we're concerned that they're going to jam a big development in this small lot, and it's going to derogate from the character of his property and others in the area. Jerry, do you want to say anything?
Jermaine DuGray, 133 Bay Road, Duxbury. Chairman and the board, when I first purchased the property, it was completely dilapidated, and actually the task force had targeted this property as a property that was owned by or run by drug dealers, and I went in and cleaned out the entire property, cleaned it up. That's why the mayor had asked to do a press conference on this vacant lot where they want to build this house. We had that press conference a few years ago, and I was very happy with the property when I purchased it, because it's one of the very few places on that street and other streets that has a little bit of green space to the left of it. It allows some sunlight in. It's not, most of the houses are right on top of each other, and there's only like a couple of spots on this street where you can have a little bit of space. There's the density, and even though they're going to have off-street parking, that's still going to add several cars to this street. If you ever drove down Norton to Inwood, which is a one-way street in the winter, even when it's not winter, you have to pretty much stop to get through Norton Street, to wait to get around cars, for children, for everything. You have to go very slow. And I don't think the density and the traffic's going to help us at all. And pretty much it's just that we enjoy the sunlight that comes into our property from that side. One of the main reasons I purchased the property, I did a little bit of investigation on this lot when I purchased my property, and at that time, the planning board had told me, in their opinion, it wasn't buildable. I understand that everybody has a right to apply for a variance, but I am totally opposed to development on this lot.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Counselor, quick, was there a home here at one time? Was there a three-family?
I did go back beyond 1980. If there was a home there, which I believe there was, but I don't have any proof of it, it would have been gone many years ago. One thing I would like to say, though, in response...
Just hold on a second. Just on your property, the abutting property, is that a stockade fence that abuts the other property?
No, there's a small chain link fence only going down probably about 20 to 30 feet on that side of the property, but it's a short chain link. In the rear of the property, there is a stockade fence.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, okay.
And the opposite side is a chain link.
All right, thank
My
you.
by the way, my neighbor, Raul De Silva, if you're facing my property to the one to the right, he was planned on coming today, but he hurt his foot and was in the hospital and could not attend the meeting. I know he was also opposed to the development.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Counselor. Go ahead.
On May 24th, we met with the Greater Bowdoin Geneva Neighborhood Association, and they told us they were sending in a letter of support. I haven't seen it, but I was told that such a letter was sent in from...
We don't have anything yet.
We did meet with them, and they verbally told us they supported the project.
All right, any other questions from the board? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval was BPDA design review, special attention to the context and the rear overhang.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the opposition is recorded. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 818-307, 11 Browning Avenue. This is a proposed three-family violation. Violation is Article 60, Section 9. Additional lot area for additional dwelling unit is insufficient. Article 60, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. Article 60, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Article 60, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Article 60, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. And Article 60, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Stuart Schreier. With me is Cy Vo, who is the owner of the property. This is 11 Browning Ave. It's a little bigger lot. It's about 3,900 square feet, although it is also a 3F 5,000 zone. There are a number of other three-family houses in the neighborhood, including 15 Browning and 21 Browning are three-family houses. Also in the neighborhood, there are other uses that are consistent with this. 17 to 19 is a project called Hope in Dorchester, which is really a multi-use family dwelling. So really should be suitable for the neighborhood. My client would be able to provide 3 off-street parking spaces to the rear of the house. He's built a number of these houses in the neighborhood, including on Wilson Street, and he does keep the homes as rental property. Runs them as very high-class rental properties. If you're going to run rental property, it's much easier to run new buildings where all the amenities are new, everything's in good condition, and his plan has been to build new homes and keep them as rental. He's got about, I think, 6 or 7 brand-new homes that he's renting out to the public. I think there's 3-bedroom apartments.
Yes.
So he's plans should be reviewed by your architect, but I believe that you'll find it's an attractive proposal. We do have some support from the neighbors, and I've given that to the chairman.
Okay. Mr. Pizzani, how are the drawings?
Drawings are adequate.
Is there anyone here to testify on behalf of the proposal?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Christine Brandeo, Mayor, Office of Neighborhood Services, would like to go on record in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dustin Gardner on behalf of Council President Campbell's office, we'd like to go on record in support. They had signatures from abutters and were approved by the local civic association.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Any questions from the board? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 819-729-107 Brunswick Street. There's also building code at Brunswick Street, BOA 819-730-107 Brunswick Street. This is to extend living space to the basement for Unit 1 on an existing three-family dwelling and an interior renovation to Unit 1. The violation is Article 50, Section 29. Floor-to-area ratio is excessive. This is for building code, Section 1016.2. Exit access, means of egress from dwelling units or sleeping areas shall not lead through other sleeping areas, toilet rooms, or bathrooms. Egress shall not pass through storage kitchens, storage rooms, closets, or spaces used for similar purpose. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Smalls. I live at 107 Brunswick Street in Boston.
Okay, can you tell us what you're proposing?
Yes, I live on the first floor of the building, and I'd like to expand the space into the basement. I'd like to finish the basement.
Is this a condo building?
No, it's rental property, but I'm living on the first floor so I can be close to my tenants.
So you own the building?
I do.
Okay. What is the current use of the basement?
Basement is just completely unfinished right now, so that's where all the boilers and plumbing is.
All mechanical?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us what the height of the floor to ceiling in the basement is?
The planned height for floor to ceiling is 8 feet.
Mr. Pisani, how are the drawings?
The drawings are adequate.
On the building code issue?
Well, the building code issue, that simply is a design issue. They can work their way out of it. I'm going to make a motion to deny the building code.
Okay, you understand, what Mr. Pisani is saying is that you can avoid the building code violation by redesign, which I'm sure he will be happy to explain. And as a result, he's made a motion to deny building code relief.
You second that motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Mr. Pisani, can you walk through what the design consequences would be?
Yeah, I mean, it is simply a matter of relocation of the bedroom and the bedroom access. Because on the first floor, there are 4 bedrooms. And I think possible shuffling of moving one of the bedrooms downstairs will allow you not to have to go through bedroom to get out of the building for the second meeting. You can work that out.
Okay. May I respond at all, or can I say anything? All right, never mind then.
I mean, the reason is your architect should be able to do this. It means you can have to shuffle stuff around, but we do not allow you to have means of egress through a bedroom. In fact, most bedrooms are locked. So other tenants, other people within the unit sometimes have an iffy chance of actually getting out that way. The egress has to be dedicated so that you can move right out. But your architect can work that out. It's simply a design problem.
So, do you understand the situation, which is you just need to go back to the architect and explain to him there's no building code relief and he needs to redesign. Other than that, the drawings are adequate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, everything's fine.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Acting Chair, members of the board, Joshua McFadden, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We had an abutters meeting a couple of months ago for the site, but after hearing Pisani's wisdom on this, we definitely support as well. We're supporting the gentleman. I know there was an incident with a fence on the side that we were trying to get resolved with some of the neighbors and individuals who lived on the site. Other than that, we definitely support the wisdom of Mr. Pisani here.
Wise move on your part. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dustin Gardner on behalf of Council President Andrea Campbell's office. We'd just like to request deferral on behalf of the local civic association. They were unaware of this project and would like to hear the presentation.
There has been no presentation at all?
No, not according to Mike Kozu with Project Right.
Did you not go to the local civic association?
I didn't know I had to, but now I know.
Josh, do we have an abutters meeting?
We did.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, so there was a process with the mayor's office?
What you said, sorry?
There was a process with the mayor's office?
No, definitely was. But we can navigate that.
Okay. All right. Any questions to the members of the board?
Second.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so you're all set, but you'll have to talk to your architect about redesigning the access in order to be compliant with the building code.
Calling next case, calling 734-153, 79 Devon Street. This is a change of occupancy from 3 to 4 apartments by legalizing the existing situation, basement, apartment, and reconfiguration of stairs. The violation is Article 8, Section 7, the use is forbidden. Article 10, Section 1, limitation of parking areas. Article 50, Section 29, excessive FAR. Article 50, Section 29, the number of allowed habitable stories has been exceeded. And Article 50, Section 29, insufficient open space. Name and address for the record, please.
Okay.
Name and address for the record, please.
Brendan Westerling, 3 Outlet Drive, Dedham, Mass. 02026.
Prince Calon, Standard Street, Mattapan. I'm the architect on the project.
Okay. Can you tell us what's being proposed?
We're just putting a unit into the basement.
I'm sorry.
We're putting a unit into the basement, a separate living space. Right now, there already is, it's already set up for, there's already space down there that's been built, and basically make it, add egresses and make it into a separate unit.
So right now it's a 3-family and you want to make it a 4-family?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And what is the current use of the basement?
The basement is currently empty. There was a minor changes that we did. It has 2 exits, and they have a laundry area for the tenant, which nobody's in there right now. So we want to make sure we legalize it. That's it.
It's empty. There's no use. It was used as some storage,
Are the
but
mechanical, the electrical panels and mechanical systems for the 3 units there?
Yeah, it's all inclusive.
there are, that's included in the design. There's going to be a separate space for that.
That leads me to the next question, how are the drawings?
Well, the drawings are fine. The problem is that the level of detail shown is adequate to determine what the floor-to-ceiling height in the basement is, and it's only 6'9". You need 7'6". It's a multifamily residence.
Well, it is existing. It is existing basement right now. So we have.
If it's existing, it's illegal and has been illegal.
Okay, so
you cannot have occupiable space down there unless you change, dig out the floor,
we'll
and
do that.
Make it
We'll do that.
7'6".
Yes, Your Honor, we'll do that.
So,
really?
Mr. Design,
It's a big deal.
Mr. Design, would you like to make a motion to deny any building code relief in order to make sure?
No, I'm going to make a motion to deny without prejudice. Let them go back and rework it and present documents that show how to do this. You can't casually just say that you're on a lower floor. I mean, it can be a big deal.
So the drawings, there's no indication of that?
That's right.
Okay, so do you understand that it is a violation of the building code to have a floor-to-ceiling height less than 7'6" in a multi-unit apartment, and unless that is corrected, there's a red light on the project.
And you're aware you're also going to have to sprinkle the whole building.
Well, it's
the whole building or
Chair,
the
there are enough gray issues here that have to be fleshed out. Motion for denial without prejudice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So your proposal has been denied. You would have to come back with a sufficiently changed architectural design that would show that it would be compliant with building code, which involves correct floor-to-ceiling height and sprinkler building.
Calling the last case of 9:30, calling BOA 810-886, 61 Hollander Street. is to erect a new three-family with off-street parking. The violation is Article 50, Section 43, off-street parking requirements access. Article 53, Section 29, the lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, additional lot area per unit is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the lot width is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, excessive FAR. Article 50, Section 29, the height is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, front yard setback is insufficient. And Article 50, Section 29, the side yard setback is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney John Fulgini, 10 Forbes Road in Braintree. With me today is Dave Anderson, representing the development team. So as Mr. Fortune said, this is 61 Hollander Street in Dorchester. Its zoning is 3F 4,000. The lot size is 3,250 square feet. The proposal is to build a new 3-unit apartment building. Each unit would have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. There would be 1 parking space per unit. The unit sizes are all the same. There would be 1,256 square feet. It's an existing vacant lot that's currently in size and shape with the other existing 3 families that are in this neighborhood. There was some concerns with the abutters and Civic regarding height and FAR, and the height has been brought down to 31 feet. FAR complies at 0.8. It has gone through a lengthy community process, and as I stated, the changes were made in the resulted changes. The changes that were made were a result of the input that we received from the community.
What is the height of the neighboring building?
Well, the zoning in the neighborhood is 35 feet, so we're under that. We're 4 feet short of that.
Right, you're 31, but you said that there have been issues with, what, I'm just asking in terms of context.
Typical 3-family, so you're looking about probably 35 to 38 feet.
How are the drawings, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Acting Chair, members of the board, Joshua McFadden, Mayor's Office, Neighborhood Services, like to go on record in support. I know the applicant did meet with the Garrison Charter Neighborhood Association, which definitely had some apprehensions about the height, which I think were addressed. But at this time, we'd like to go on record in support.
Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Please state your name and address.
My name's Eliza Williams. I live at 56 Hollander Street. I'm actually on the housing board of the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association, and I actually took a lot of umbrage with different things in this request. They were double counting space areas between the current existing property and the one they were trying to build on. In addition to that, they also completely disregard the fact that it does not follow suit with other houses there. We have, that area is way too set forward on the lot instead of setting it back. They also, I took umbrage with the fact that we have an excessive amount of parking issues. And again, there were double counting spaces from behind the other property they own, in addition to this one. They also just disregarded a lot of the comments that we had. They were not forthcoming when they actually made the presentation to the neighborhood committee. Their representative actually said there were a lesser amount of variances, and upon further investigation, we were able to learn there were more than they initially gave us. Overall, it just doesn't meet the variances. It doesn't match with the other houses in the neighborhood, in the area, and they weren't really taking into concern any of the neighboring issues that were going on that they were adding to. Thank you.
Okay, so you raised the issue of height, but they adjusted that, correct?
So that was just one of the things that they said they adjusted the issue of height. A lot of the things, it was like the sizings of rooms, it had to do with the porch, and a lot of it. Also, the house is set way too close to the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Question. Now, you are representing Garrison Trotter officially now?
Of the housing board?
Yes, of the
Yes.
organization,
Yes.
the neighborhood association.
Yes.
Okay, there was a conflict between the support and your statement.
So I'm not sure if it was the original housing board statement or the additional statement that was voted on. However, when we voted, everyone, including the President, Louis Alicia, what happens is the neighborhood voted and we were not in favor.
So there's, you've sent documentation to that effect here to this board?
When we voted on it, yes.
We have no documentation.
I think we're a little confused because Mr. McFadden from the mayor's office indicated that the association was in favor.
No, I didn't say that the association was in favor. I was saying that we were in favor, but I know that height was an issue for the association.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. My name is Charlotte Williams, and I live across the street from said lot at number 56. I'm also a board member of the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association. As a neighbor, as a person across the street, I do not want those variances accepted. The lot is too small. It's obvious that the lot is too small. It's as big as my driveway, which is a double driveway, but there is not enough space there. And this has come to the board on more than one occasion. Maybe this is the third or the fourth time. I think they're wasting the time of this board. The lot is too small. There's not enough room to the front. There's not enough room to the side. There's not enough room to the back. I haven't even gotten into the height issue. That's not what concerns me. I do not want 3 families crammed over there in this very, very tiny lot. And I don't know where 3 cars would go behind that building. It's a very small lot. I think maybe there were garages there originally. This is a very old neighborhood. Our house was built in like 1880. And that's totally out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. So I oppose this vehemently, and I hope that the board agrees and denies these variances. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you speak to some of the issues that have been raised about the lot size and also the front setback?
Sure. So I think initially, we get to the Civic Association, the initial concern was density and height. They were the 2 major concerns. The height has been lowered, and the density complies with the FAR, so it's been brought in compliance. And with respect to
height
and FAR. So it has, so when people are talking about a structure that's too large for a lot, it's complying with FAR under the revised plan. The other concern that was raised by this by the woman was the size of the lot. Now, when I do this, I go and I look, as all of you guys do, you look at the other lots that are consistent in the neighborhood. If you look at the other lots that surround this, they're all similar. Some are smaller. So the zoning in the neighborhood has changed, so it's 3 or 4,000, but the existing structures in the house, many would sit on, a lot of them sit on exactly the same size, 3,250 square feet throughout the side.
Any questions for the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'm going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You want to take a break? You want to go right
That's the last one tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break for 5 minutes, and then start with the 10:30 hearing. Okay, call the session back into order. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to call one more time. Any deferrals or withdrawals for 10:30? Hearing none, we'll go right to that first case. Calling BOA 850-546-451 D Street. This is seeking the ability to build out and use the space within the building for the purposes of research and development laboratory use. No work to be done at this time. The violations, Article 27S, Section 9, this is in the South Boston iPod enforcement, and Article 68, Section 10, research and development laboratory is a conditional use. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Chairman Ehrlich and Secretary Fortune and members of the Board of Appeal. My name is Mary Marshall, 155 Seaport Boulevard. With me is Steve Faber from Related Beal, 177 Milk Street, and David Vitale, who's our consultant for EH&S matters. The matter before you is to seek the permission to authorize the use of laboratory R&D within the building located at 451 D Street. It's an existing building. It was formerly warehouse, was converted to office space. There's a mix of uses within the building, including some lab, but Related Beal had owned it, reacquired it recently, paid a lot more money when it reacquired it, and would like to implement some laboratory R&D use, which is consistent with the zoning in South Boston for this area, but requires a conditional use permit. The ISD also noted that we needed an iPod permit from the South Boston iPod. I don't know if it's, from my looking at the zoning maps, it's not currently within the iPod area, but we appealed to seek that relief to the extent required as well. So there's adequate, we had a community meeting with the abutters sponsored by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We asked and answered questions in terms of the laboratory operations, and that's why Mr. Vitale is here today. We provided them with a follow-up sort of statement as to what kinds of uses would go there, and we've not heard any comment back from them following that distribution. And generally, I'll let the Mayor's Office speak. I think that the questions that were asked were answered during the meeting.
How many square feet of lab space we're talking about?
So the total building is 450,000 feet.
Could you put your name and address for the record, please?
Oh, yes, Stephen Faber, Vice President with Related Beal at 177 Milk Street in Boston. We anticipate that we would have up to approximately 150,000 feet that might be leased as R&D space. Of that, typically the proportion that's actually for research area is normally between 50 to 60% of that, with the other space being ancillary office. So in essence, somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 85,000 feet of actual research space.
So you're talking about 150,000 between the research and the ancillary. What about the other 300,000 square feet in the building?
So that 300,000 is, for example, we have some very long-term leases with tenants such as JP Morgan, Chase. They'll remain, they're existing. In addition, the building was at one point going to be used as a telco hotel, so there is a significant amount of infrastructure associated with that. Those are also long-term tenants. They'll also be remaining.
Who was the occupant of the 150,000 square feet?
Oh, it's an assorted, varied number of spaces that, as those tenancies either vacate and/or roll over, we would look to try to release that space as lab. So it's not any specific. There's not any specific exact tenancies.
So in terms of I mean, I understand it's conditional use, but in terms of the renovation work, it's going to be restricted to that 150,000 square feet?
Well, actually,
there's no work to be done right now, right?
Yes, so there will be some initial base building work. Yeah, there'll be some base building work to increase HVAC capacity. We already have power there because of the telco use. We're going to redistribute that power. Today it's all in the basement because it was never fully distributed, but we don't have to bring any additional power. We're going to then just bring a bus duct up into the building. So there are some, and there'll be some, we've already identified additional drainage because of the wet lab conditions and where that would be located through the building. And those permits will be pulled as we obtain the designs and so on.
All right, how are the drawings, Mr. Pizzani?
Drawings are adequate. I do have a question. What type of laths will actually be used?
That's actually addressed, Mr. Pizzani, in the materials that Mr. Vitale provided. And we can speak.
Well, can you quickly
Sure.
summarize?
Yeah,
and
I can quickly
articulate?
summarize. So these would be at what's known as BL2 and less. So BL2 and less is it's not anything like what, for example, BU was seeking in its area. These are the typical kind of biology and chemistry labs that are utilized in cancer research and that sort of activity. These are labs that will use very low levels of chemicals. Of course, there are numerous regulations which will be followed, and we, as a very experienced lab manager, have done this type of work in Cambridge and in Boston and in Lexington for over 30 years.
Who monitors the triggering? In other words, there's always creep in everything. And as your BL2, I think that's high. As people become more successful with their operation and have to reach to another level, how is that achieved, or is it not achieved, and who monitors to see that it isn't?
So we will not allow any level above BL2 in the building, period. The leases will strictly prohibit anything above BL2. The monitoring of that activity is to go to another level, BL3, would require a serious building permit and a serious adjustment in their facility plan because of the requirement for containment in those areas. Otherwise, they wouldn't be operating.
So you have built-in regulations.
Absolutely.
So people coming into the building know that they cannot exceed.
Absolutely. And the kind of tenants that we would be, I have never, in my experience doing this for over 20 years, have ever seen a tenant actually even ask to go to a BL level 3 use in any of our facilities. It's just typically not, it's not done.
Thank you.
Your management company
yes.
will be responsible for the overview and oversight of what the renters of this space will be responsible to?
Yes, absolutely. For example, one of the bigger issues is just chemical storage. And so we actually maintain and keep, because the city of Boston, the fire department, is concerned about the amount of chemicals on each floor. So when you have a multi-tenant condition, they will come in at least annually to our facility and ask us for our records that we maintain of all of the tenants to ensure that the volume of chemicals is within the prescribed allowed limits. If it is not, they can then also do inspections at individual tenants' locations. If they find any variance in that, they can shut down the operation.
So one just final question. So what you're asking today, what you're asking us for, is there a certain floor you're looking for? Is just an open variance that would allow you to move through each floor as they become empty?
It's actually an open condition for the building to allow for this use to be utilized.
Because there's no target tenant that we're looking to move or not, but to allow the use within the structure as appropriate.
Okay.
It would be all the other conditions on it that will.
And you are required to notify city officials when there's a change of operation or change of management, if you will. The reason why I ask that is if say you have a space that's leased for 5 years and a new tenant comes in and a new operation, maybe around the same kinds of things, but it's a new operator.
Yes.
Are you required to notify officials, fire department, public health and safety, etc.?
So
The operator has their own license.
yeah,
I'm David Vitale, Winchester, Massachusetts, Vitale and Hopcroft Associates. The way that works is when a tenant is in the building and they have a certain quantity of hazardous materials, chemicals, they're required to store that properly and be permitted. So the permitting process for a typical BL1 lab or BL2 lab is the fire department for a flammable permit, a laboratory certification with the city of Boston, a permit with the MWRA so that there isn't any waste or effluent that's being discharged, and a variety of other things. For instance, if they're doing recombinant DNA or any type of DNA work, there's a permit required by the city to do that. So when a tenant leaves a space, we require that they decommission the space. If they come into a space that was clean, and that's done by confirmatory sampling, that there are no residues of any type of chemicals, for instance, metals, they come in clean, they're required to leave clean as well. So that would require a decommissioning of taking all of the materials, taking all of the waste, and then determining by sampling that the space is clean. At that point, they then would cancel their permits. So they'd cancel the fire department permit, they'd cancel our transfer of the MWRA permit, and that basically puts that tenant out of that building by the fact that they have canceled or rescinded their permits.
And we, as the management company, maintain copies of all of those, require that, and then when the new tenant moves in, depending upon, typically they'll have to do a building permit for their changes they want to make, and then they have to issue all of those permits from their various regulatory agencies, which we then obtain as well. So there are a series of checks and balances to ensure that the operators of the actual tenants are doing so in accordance with code.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone here to speak on behalf of this project?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, we would like to go on record in support. As the proponent noted, we did have an abutters meeting on site. A number of residents attended from the adjoining buildings. The only concern that came up was people were concerned about what level of lab it would be once they understood that it would be a low-level lab and the proponent would need many more approvals. If they wanted to go to a higher level, people were very comfortable with the use. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez representing the Carpenters Union. On behalf of hundreds of our members that live and work throughout the city of Boston, I want to go on record and support this project.
Anyone here to speak in opposition?
I just asked John, Mark. John, you didn't mention the South Boston iPod. I know Councilor asked about it earlier. Is it in the South Boston iPod? Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. Calling the next case, calling BOA 832-854-650 East 7th Street. This is to create additional living space in the existing basement of 874 square feet. Violations, Article 68, Section 29, roof structure restricted district. Article 68, Section 7, the dwelling unit is forbidden in the basement. Article 27S, Section 5, it's in the iPod. Applicability, South Boston. Article 68, Section 33, off-street parking requirement is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Doug Stefanov, 93 F Street, and with me is Bob Moynihan and Terry Moynihan. Oh, Sean, back. The owners of the building. Chairman, members of the board, I just want to make one little correction on the zoning code refusal letter. I'm actually not requesting roof structure restriction relief nor off-street parking relief. I actually have those. There's no roof work. The work is purely internal. The project is to renovate the lower level and create a fourth living space, which would be sprinkled, providing two means of egress, to create a tenant for the family.
Do those drawings reflect the fact that there's no roof work?
Yeah, it just shows the existing conditions, and it's called out such. Yes.
Do you know why that happened?
I don't know why.
So the roof deck already exists then?
Yes, Tom.
Okay. And access to it, Tom?
The roof deck is accessed from the back. It's an exclusive use third floor.
Thank you.
Through a...
They have stairs.
Stairs.
Full stairs.
Yep. Okay, how are the drawings, Mr. Pizzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Can you describe, what's the off-street parking situation?
If you look on your second and third page, we're providing parking in the back of the building. There's an easement between this property and the adjacent, which provides vehicular access to the back, and there's actually more parking of the adjacent building to the right. So there's more than enough parking for the tenants and owners.
Any questions from members of the board? Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of the project?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, John Ellis and Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, we would like to go on record in support. We did hold an on-site abutters meeting, and several abutters came and were supportive of the project. This is a project that will keep a longtime family in South Boston. Thank you.
Mr. of the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flink's office, we would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Are these condos?
No. Did you condoize? They're owned by the family.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Before I call the next case for 10:30, I'm going to 11:30. Are there any withdrawals or deferrals for 11:30? Councilor, address?
18 Everett Street.
For the record, calling BOA 825-479, 18 Everett Street. Name and address for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, request for a further deferral. Reason being is that we are still in the process of having conversations with the direct abutter. We're tweaking the plans a bit more to hopefully address some of their outstanding concerns.
Has there already been a deferral?
One previously.
What's your sense of getting to resolution on this?
Hopefully by the end of November. I mean, thinking hearings-wise, optimistically.
That's a good way to be.
Yep.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Motion for deferral.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
December 11th. Are there any other deferrals? Oh, you do? Okay. Address, Councilor.
25 Everett Street.
Calling BOA 810-158, 25 Everett Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, ditto for the reasons just stated under 18 Everett Street.
I have a motion.
Motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
We'll have the same date of 12/17.
Thank you.
11:30. Are there any other deferral? I'm sorry. 12/11, I'm sorry. 12/11 on both of those. Getting ahead of myself. It's Christmas time. Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals? I do have one just for the board's information. BOA, the last case on 11:30, BOA 848-647, 82 Glencliff Road is going to be deferred till 10:30 in 2018 at 11:30. That's for the board's information. Okay, getting back to the 10:30s. Calling BOA 853-544, 428 to 430 West Broadway. This is an interior renovation of existing branch office, includes demolition of existing walls, floors, and ceilings, construction of new walls and floors and ceilings, and replaced canopy and exterior stairway. This violation is Article 27S, Section 5. It's in the South Boston applicability. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bruce Moranci. I'm attorney for business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Chair members, this is the East Boston Savings Bank on West Broadway. No zoning violation here. It's IPAR compliance. This is an existing bank that's been there for decades. East Boston Savings Bank is in the process of closing their loan center, which is another building across the street. They're relocating employees into this building. This is entirely interior work. There are no exterior changes. There's no physical expansion of the building. The sole reason why this is here before the board is that iPod was triggered based upon the value of the work. Under the iPod, any building containing 1,000 or more square feet where there's a substantial rehabilitation triggers iPod. Substantial rehabilitation is defined in Article 2A as renovations where the cost of the work exceeds 50% of the assessed value of the building. That is the trigger that unfortunately delayed this interior renovation. It does in fact require an iPod permit from the board.
Straightforward. Sonny, how are the drawings?
Drawings are adequate.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of the project?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record in support of this project. This is a long-time existing business, and we'd like to support it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez with the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, all set.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 836-691, 250 Newbury Street. Newbury Street's here, okay. This is outside seating. No work to be done. Violations, Article 9, Section 1, extension of a non-conforming use, conditional. Name and address for the record, please.
Michael Bullock, 19 Toplift, Dorchester, Mass.
Can you describe what you're proposing?
Just the use of the outdoor seating that is currently existing out front of 250 Newbury Street. No work to be done.
Wait a minute. You said it's currently existing.
It's a space that's been on the property for the entire time it's been existing. We'd like to use the conditional for customer seating.
How many seats are you talking about?
There's 9 seats.
9 seats.
Capacity.
Just in time for the winter.
For the winter, right?
Mr. Donnie, how are the drawings?
Drawings are adequate.
Okay, is anyone here to speak in favor of the proposal? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is the mayor's office taking no position?
Sorry. We're Giselle Guerra, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We're not going on record or opposition. We're going on record in support. 250 Newbury Street. No questions or concerns. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. So is there anyone to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All set.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 850-379, 99 High Street. This is Citizens First Floor Tenant Interior Construction. This is change of occupancy from offices, restaurant 36A and 37 to garage stores, car rental, and bank to offices, restaurant 36A and 37, garage, car rental, and bank with ATM. Violations Article 49A-5. This is Greenway. Bank machines are conditional use. Name and address for the record, please.
Nima Chavin of Wilson and Soares for 100 Atlantic Ave. Hi, I'm here representing TREA 99 High Street, the owner of 99 High Street in the financial district. With me is Bruce Clifford representing the owner, Nancy Tomer representing the tenant Citizens Bank, and Matt Silva, the project architect. We are requesting a conditional use permit to allow Citizens Bank to open bank branch offices with bank machines in the 31-story building at 99 High. The building is located in the B10 zoning district and the Greenway overlay district. Bank branch offices and bank machines are permitted in the B10, but are conditional ground level uses in the Greenway overlay district. And that's why we're here requesting the conditional use permit to comply with the conditional ground level uses. The proposed Citizens Bank office will be on the ground floor at the corner of Congress and Purchase Street, and there'll be an ATM vestibule on each street. Also like to note that the BPDA recommended approval of the project. And so with that, I can turn it over to Citizens to tell you a little bit more about the project or answer any questions you have.
Go ahead, tell us more.
All right, absolutely. So this space is actually close to an 8,000 square foot space that would actually have high traffic volume. This is one of our larger focus branches. So we have a number of different types of transactions that would be in this branch. So high level of transactions, high level of foot traffic that would come into the space on a daily basis. This is one of our highlighted locations. We have a wealth center as well as a branch in this location. So it really would bring a lot of people into that space.
What is the 8,000 feet currently used for?
Previously, it was actually, I think it's vacant at this time, but previously it was actually a nautical gallery, and I think, what was the other portion?
Citibank used to occupy the
Yes.
corner of Hyde and Compass, so it was two actual businesses. The nautical retail store as well as the
Okay. How are the drawings, Mr. Designer?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anyone here to speak in favor of the proposal?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Dan-Chin Xu from Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I would like to go on record and support. The proponent actually went through our community outreach process, informed the direct abutting buildings and the neighborhoods associations, and received no opposition. Thank you.
Mr. of the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flink's office, we would like to go on record in support. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez with the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're all set.
Calling the next two cases, calling BOA 833-842 60 State Street. There's building code, BOA 842-176 60 State Street. This is an interior renovation of existing restaurant and new building addition. The violations, Article 45, Section 5, the floor ratio is excessive. This is for building code. This is the MAAB Chapter 7, Section 705 on openings. Openings are not permitted where the fire separation distance is less than 3 feet. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ruth Silman with Nixon Peabody, here on behalf of American Craft Brewery, which is Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams brand, and others. With me are representatives from Bergmeyer, the architect, C Cubed, which is the code consultant, representative development consultant Ryan Smith from the company, and Molly McGlynn from Solomon McCown, who's dealt with community outreach. We also have representatives from the landlord, Oxford, sitting in the audience as well if there are any questions. Boston Beer proposes to lease what was the former Houston's or Hillstone's restaurant just on the back side of 60 State Street, right on Faneuil Hall. And a very exciting tap room is proposed, a new 2-story structure going up onto the plaza. We're here for both building code and zoning, so I don't know what the pleasure of the board is.
We want to do with building code.
Building code first. So I'm going to turn things over to Doug Anderson from C Cubed for that.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Doug Anderson, C Cubed. Part of the project includes extension of the existing facade that faces the Sam Adams statue to within 3 feet of the property line. And part of the design of the project is full glazing on that facade and also a little bit on the side where it actually faces Faneuil Hall Market itself. Under the building code, openings are not permitted within 3 feet of a property line. However, we are making the argument that the park, it is a city park under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department. It's Sam Adams Park, it's called Faneuil Hall Park, and it has a third name, which I forgot. But it's analogous to a public way. And a public way is defined in the building code as a street, alley, or other parcel of land open to the outside air leading to a street that has been deeded, dedicated, or otherwise permanently appropriated to the public for public use. And so when you measure this distance, when you're facing directly, say, a street, you measure to the center of the street. In this case, it's an interior lot line, and so that is the building code violation, and that is the relief which we seek to have unlimited percentage of openings on those facades analogous to if we face the street, we'd be fine. And we don't propose putting sprinklers at 6-foot spacing on those windows because the odds of anything being constructed on that park are pretty remote. So that's the building code relief that we request.
Yes, I've previously taken a look at this project and the need for the building code relief. And as Mr. Anderson has stated, because it is in essence a park and open space, and I think even further, isn't it protected by landmarks?
That's correct.
Yeah, so the probability of anything being built there is akin to 0. So therefore, I make a motion to grant the building code relief request.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Okay, the zoning is just a little bit of a math puzzle. So math is not my strong suit, but bear with me for just a moment. The land area for this lot is actually 2 parcels. There is a main parcel, which is very large, and then there is a sliver parcel. In 2007, when a zoning variance was granted by this board, the land area that was used was only the main parcel. The sliver parcel was not included in the denominator for purposes of figuring out the FAR. And by the way, the only item cited by ISD was for excessive FAR.
Before you go, can I say, so who owns the sliver parcel?
It's the 2 parcels are under common control. So
I'm sure it's some complicated LLC.
it is
Yeah.
special purpose entities and
Right.
ground
But
leases and
it's
something complicated.
Common owner.
They are combined, and the existing building is built across both parcels. We are not building anything.
So the separate parcels predated the construction of 60 State Street?
The 60 State Street building was built on both parcels, but for some reason, when the relief was written up and granted by this board, only the land area for the larger parcel, for the large parcel, was included, okay? Just to back up, Boston Beer is proposing a square footage addition of 3,923 square feet, okay? That sliver parcel is 2,276 square feet. In 2007, the zoning relief that was granted a maximum FAR of 14.3. So if we weren't including this other sliver parcel as part of the land area, we would be asking you to go up in FAR a little bit to add that 3,923 square feet to an FAR otherwise of 14.3. But when we add the land area and we increase the denominator, and then we add the little bit, the 3,923 square feet of building, new building addition, we actually bring the FAR down to 13.78. So we would like approval from the board just to rectify and correct kind of the record here, and we want it to be transparent. We are adding square footage, and we think the intent of the board in 2007 was a maximum number of square feet of gross floor area. And because we're adding some gross floor area, we wanted to come before you and make sure that we got the relief, even though, as a math problem, we're decreasing the FAR overall.
Crystal clear.
It's all on the back sheet of here, clearly laid out if you really want to see it, but I think that Mr. Fitzgerald and I can come up with a decision that lays this out as clearly as possible.
I would like to clarify that the sliver parcel used to be, it's discontinued public way when that whole area was redeveloped in the late 60s, early 70s. In fact, there's a sewer line that parallels the interior lot line. So it somehow got overlooked.
Okay.
And
Could you clarify what the accessibility for the multi-levels that you have here, how does that actually work?
You mean disabled access? Well, the main entrance, of course, at the Faneuil Hall level is fully accessible, will be fully accessible, and there's an interior elevator to access the upper level.
Where is that located?
If you look on the third page of your handout, that's the upper level floor plan. The elevator is right in the center.
Oh, okay.
And we did receive a variance from the MAAB, the Architectural Access Board, so you could enter the plaza, enter the upper level from the State Street entrance of the building. There's an accessible route in the building to get to the plaza. and we needed a variance in order to do that.
Just for my edification, at the upper level, there's Sterling's that exist, and they have a very large outdoor space. Does that impinge on your outdoor space, or what is happening?
No, the lease areas are completely separate, so, and there's clear path space, and we've dealt, this is all, by the way, under a land disposition agreement with the BRA, so we've been dealing with the BRA on easement and other issues.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the project?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Maria Lanza, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. The applicant has met with all applicable abutters, and they all have no issues or concerns at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Fletcher, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flink's office, we would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez from the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Mr. Chairman and members, my name is Linda DeMarco. I live in 284 Amy Street, Jamaica Plain, and I own Boston Pretzel. And I'm also the president of the Merchants Association at Faneuil Hall. And on behalf of all the members, we support this tap room, and we welcome tourists and residents to activate the area. I'm also here on behalf of the general manager, Joe O'Malley, who was unable to attend, and he also supports this member. I also like to have on record that I've owned Boston Pretzel for 20 some odd years in Jamaica Plain, and Boston Beer has been my neighbor for that whole time, and they have been the consummate neighbor in Jamaica Plain. They support us. I'm a small business. They've always been tremendously supportive, and I actually welcome them to this area so they can help some of the small business in this area. So I thank you for letting me speak.
Beer and pretzels, who knew?
Yeah. We can't wait to vote.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Do we need BPDA, Jeff? Yeah.
Yeah, because Mark's going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, you all set?
Thank you so much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 843-982, 79 Pearl Street. This is an interior renovation of lower level and first floor, addition of 2 new bedrooms and bathroom in the existing lower level, and addition of a new interior stair. Violations Article 62, Section 8, employee air ratio is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Justin Pietrella. I'm the owner of Unit 1 at 79 Pearl Street in Charlestown.
Scott Rossi. I'm the contractor that was selected for this. The address of our office is 30 B Street, Burlington, Mass.
Okay, you want to describe what's being proposed?
Yeah, so essentially the existing lot is only 1,566 square feet. The FAR is 2.0. The issue we're up against is that we're trying to use the basement area to create more living space for Unit 1, which would push us over the FAR.
Okay. So what's the floor to ceiling height of the basement?
Currently, it's only 6 feet. 6 feet. We're going to be digging down and underpinning the foundation as part of this proposal.
And so what will the ceiling height be once it's completed?
I believe it's 7 feet is the call.
Yeah, 7.
7 feet.
Okay. What is the basement currently used for?
Currently storage, unfinished area.
Yep. And laundry.
And what will it be used for?
We're adding a bedroom, a bathroom, and play space. Yep.
And there is an egress window well as part of this plan, as well as a new staircase down from his unit to allow for the 2 forms of egress.
Are the drawings, Mr. Kazani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Quinlan Locke from the Office of Neighborhood Services. I'd like to go on record in support of this project. There was a partners meeting held, and there was no opposition at that time. Thank you.
Lydia Edwards' office. The council wishes to go on record in support as well.
Chairman and members of the board, I'm a member of this condo association at 79 Pearl Street. I have no opposition to the
Put your name in the record, please.
Elizabeth Clifford, 79 Pearl Street, Condo Association. I want to just note that I have no opposition to the excavation, but this is a architecturally historical house, and I do have opposition to the sliding door on the plans. They are doing some renovations to the first floor unit, and it has a sliding door on the plan, and I am opposed to this configuration of the exit.
Okay, I thought that the only work would be done in the basement. Is it work elsewhere?
There's work on the first floor where we're creating the staircase down, as well as adding a slider in the existing kitchen to provide access to his deeded patio. But the FAR, the zoning issue is with the work in the basement.
Right.
There is no work.
I mean, unfortunately, we're only speaking on the zoning. But I appreciate your desire for architectural concepts. Any questions from the board? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval with BPDA design review and let's see, I think in Charlestown, this is within the landmark district.
I'm not sure.
There's no designation
Yeah.
on this house.
No, but it's within the landmark district
Correct.
of Charlestown. Okay, so therefore, Boston Landmark should have a review with particular attention given to glazed openings, meaning windows and doors.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All, any opposed? It passes, but please deal with contact.
Calling BOA 853-541, 223 Everett Street. This is a proposed 3 off-street parking in the rear of existing 3-family dwelling. Violation Article 53, Section 9. Usable open space is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board.
Almost, George.
My name is George Lansing, attorney for business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. My clients are Sonia Paul Hardiman, the owners of 223 Everett Street. This is an application to have 3 off-street parking spaces for the dedicated use of residents in the building in the rear yard. The parking plan is fairly simple. It's being submitted, it's been submitted to the board, it's being distributed. I also went over the plan with Mr. Pedico some weeks ago. Originally, these spaces were aligned at a right angle. It was this would be a suggestion, a good suggestion that they be made into a vertical alignment. The sole violation here is insufficient usable open space. Access to the rear yard is provided by Ipswich Place, which is a private way open to the public for travel. It's a 10-foot wide private way, the width of a standard driveway. There is a maneuverability area between the house and the parking spaces, so the cars can pull down Ipswich Street, turn, so that they're then parking nose out, so that they will not be backing up Ipswich Place, excuse me, they will not be backing up Ipswich Place to exit, they'll be pulling out nose first.
Okay, the private, what is the ownership of the private way?
It's a private way with right of public passage, and it's oftentimes private ways are owned by the property owners to the midpoint. That's not the case here. And this is actually a private way that is posted, no parking within the private way, fire line. So again, it's a private way, but it does have, it is indicated in Boston Streets Book as having a right of public passage.
So there's no need for an easement or anything like that?
No, it's a 10-foot drive, a 10-foot private way, and all the properties abutting it have the right to use it, as in fact does any member of the general public is open for public passage.
Ms. Pisani, have the drawings?
Drawings are adequate.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the project?
Hello, members of the board. My name is Jesus Garcia from the Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support for the project. During the community process, there was no opposition about this proposal. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Judy Evans, Councilor Lydia Edwards' office. She was to go on my record in support as well.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Motion, please.
motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All set.
Calling the next two cases, calling BOA 865018, 76 Horace Street. There's companion case BOA 770-13678 Horace Street. This is for 76 Horace Street. This is erecting two-family dwelling, violation of Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking and loading, none is proposed. This is for 78 Horace Street. This is to subdivide the parcels into two lot, Lot A to remain at 78 Horace, and Lot B to have 2,500 square feet, to be known as 76 Horace Street. It also confirmed the occupancy as a two-family dwelling or existing condition for many years. The violation of Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking loading requirements, existing parking is eliminated. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback, 2.5 feet is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space, 750 square feet is required. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Edward Gottlieb. My office is at 309 Washington Street in Brighton Center. And with me is the owner. This is Rita Higgins, one of the owners, with her husband. And also with me is Mr. Tim Burke, who is the architect. And also here is Mr. Donald Moore, who is the proposed owner-occupant of the two-family house, which we propose to build in this two-family, 2,000 square foot zone. What we are seeking is as follows. We have an existing 5,000 square foot lot in which sits a two-family structure which is sat there for decades. We are seeking to subdivide that to create two 2,500 square foot lots, one of which will contain the existing two-family house, which will be converted to two condominiums with a minimal of renovation and improvement. And we are seeking to construct a new two-family house on the lot which would be numbered 76 Horace Street. The two-family house will be owner-occupied, as I mentioned, by Mr. Donald Moore, and there'll be a one-bedroom apartment and a three-bedroom apartment. We are also proposing to put a common passageway between the two lots so as to provide access to the rear of both structures for rubbish removal and bringing the rubbish out to the street and putting it in the backyard. We are also proposing to provide two parking spaces, tandem parking spaces, garage spaces under the new structure at 76. And Mr.
Yes, the new proposed units, there'd be a one-bedroom that would be 936 square feet, and then the three-bedroom unit is 1,548 square feet. And that would be the owner-occupied unit.
Okay. Other drawings?
The drawings are adequate.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of the project?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support for the project. The applicant actually completed the community process through 3 abutters meeting and presenting in front of the Neighborhood Association for 3 times, even though the association voted against the proposal, but they work out with the community and the direct abutters about the concerns of parking. Therefore, we would like to go in support. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, Judy Evans, City Councilor, Lydia Edwards' office. Council wishes to go on record in support.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Do I have a motion?
Motion for approval, BPDA design review. That's one motion. Number 2, to confirm that it is a two-family on the existing lot.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 818-494, 223 Saratoga Street. This is to combine 2 lots, also demolish the existing building and erect 4-story building with 9 units and 9 interior parking spaces. The violation of Article 53, Section 56.5, parking maneuverability. Article 53, Section 8, the proposed use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient additional lot area. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 9, the number of allowed stories has been exceeded. Article 53, Section 9, the maximum allowed height has been exceeded. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space proposed. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback. Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Article 53, Section 56, insufficient proposed parking. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jeff Reagan with Reagan Castano, back at 15 Broad Street, representing Mr. Robert Pease, the owner and developer of property at 223, and I have Arthur Chu, the architect on the project with me here today. There's been a number of modifications. This project now, and we just presented new plans to Mr. Pisani, is proposing 7 residential condos down to 9 with 7 parking spaces. As mentioned, it's combining 2 city parcels, raising the existing 3-story structure that's outdated, and erecting 4-story residential building with 7 units and 7 parking spaces. This is a 3F 2000 district, and this particular lot size is 4,000 square feet, 100 deep, 40 wide. We've made a number of modifications, and I'd just like to point out, which brought our unit sizes down really with a minimum that they were at. 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms roughly at 740 to 770 square feet, and our 1 bedrooms are in the high 600 to 680. Just to go over some of these modifications, along with reducing the units, we've increased our rear yard setback from 10 feet 6 inches to 16 feet. We've put balconies, rear balconies on the units to create more open space, which has increased our open space from 288 square feet to 1,047. Our gross square footage has gone down from 11,254 to 8,176. Our FAR from 2.8 to 2.03. Our height has been reduced from 39 feet 8 inches down to 37 feet 4 inches. And on our top floor story, our 4th unit at 1,280 square feet, our penthouse has been pulled in almost 20 feet in the rear and 16 and a half feet in the front, adding some additional deck space. Outside, we heard some concern from our abutters on the left-hand side of the property. They asked us to also pull in the rear addition on the back of the building that goes out further than their building, 2.5 feet off their property line. We were able to do that. We're able to do that, so we're going to have to also bring in some new plans. It won't create any new violations, but that new plan will reflect that to appease our neighbors in the back, and it will also allow those 7 parking spaces to remain. The Eagle Hill Civic Association supported this project with the caveat that we have that parking. So we've really tried to have a delicate balance of pulling this in as much as we can, keeping it a condo project and appeasing our neighbors as well.
Well, all these modifications that you described, they're done since it was advertised?
Yes. So the modifications created no additional violations. They've all been reductions.
Right.
The
No, I
plans that
understand.
Mr. Pisani had.
Is this the first time that Pisani has seen the plans with the modifications?
Correct. And there's just one additional small modification. But all of those modifications.
And Jeff, I noticed the DPDA recommended the denial was based on a series of issues that would seem to have been addressed.
So as you, I can't speak for the planners seeing that it's being submitted for the first time, but you're right. We didn't like it at 9. I don't know how we would feel as 7, but a lot of those issues were addressed.
Yeah, the rear yard setback and a number of units. And,
We did speak to the planners a few days ago. They said they didn't have time to change the position, but they did have time to review the new plans and see those changes.
And they did?
They did.
And the outcome was?
They said they didn't have time to change the position, but they did review it.
Right, so to elaborate on that, there's only one bite at the apple before our board, and since our board met on the 13th, if they only met a couple of days ago, maybe they were amenable to the changes, but we can't change it after it's been voted.
Okay. Mr. Pisani, you had enough time to look at the revised plans?
Yes, I had done the plans preview of the previous project, therefore I have familiarity.
Okay.
I know what to look at. Drawings are adequate? Fine.
like to speak in favor of the project?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office on Neighborhood Services. This project completed the community process, and the concerns were about the number of units and parking spaces. However, they work out with the community, and they reduced the initial proposal, and they received also the support from Eagle Hill Civic Association. Therefore, we would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
But before we take any more testimony, this packet of drawings this also reflects the new modifications, right? Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Floyd to the other city councilor Lydia Edwards' office. We would like to go on record in support and request continued dialogue with the abutter, Mr. Broomfield. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Minor Perez for the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support.
Anyone here to speak in opposition?
Hi, so I'm James Broomfield, Direct Abutter. I'd like to thank the development for, working with me. We've been working back and forth on a lot of the issues. I think we're not quite there yet. We're getting closer. I would just like to ask to defer this decision until we have more time to discuss some of my issues, such as the rear setback, not meeting the 30 feet, required by law. If you go to the property and you go into the back, there's nothing on the entire street that goes back more than, I'd say, 40 feet. And yeah, this would be just in stark contrast to everything in the neighborhood. It would actually be detrimental to my property and my ability to just get any sunlight in the back of my house. My building was recently renovated just a year ago. And these are 3-row houses built together at the same time. My place was renovated in accordance with everything that was around it. It took the same footprint of what was there before, and I know that's not going to be possible with this development, but I'm just asking us to try to rein in it a little bit. There's nothing on the street that's 4 stories. There's nothing that goes back as far as they're requesting.
Is there still possibility of further modification?
We would definitely work with them on demo. They had asked about demo and concerns about that. So the setback requirement is 25 for that area. We're at 16 and a half. Most of the houses go back further than where we are now. I'm not saying they're exactly where we would be in the proposed building, but there are 4 stories. There's some across the street. There's some down the street. So if we put a 30-foot setback in this building, we would completely cut the units. I mean, it would be beyond micro units, and our parking would be eliminated. So, and the community, we had to weigh trying to make modifications and keep the parking. When we met outside with this director, other concern was that 2.5 feet in the rear to move back, which we agreed to. We did modify that. But we will continue to work with them on any other.
Yeah, they've definitely been open to working with me, which is great. That's why I'm just asking for a little more time to kind of finalize this. And yeah, it's true, a lot of the buildings go further back than where they're at now, but they're probably at about 50 feet from the rear fence, and looking to go 16 is a stark contrast to everything in the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'm going to make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Please continue to work with me about it.
We will. Thank you.
Calling the next case. Calling BOA 819243, excuse me, 806 Saratoga Street. This is erect a 3-unit residential dwelling. Violation Article 53, Section 8, the use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 9, number of allowed stories have been exceeded. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Liz, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner. With me is Cecilia Maya, the owner of the property, along with Arthur Chu, the project architect.
These combo
companion cases? Are these companion cases?
I'm sorry, yes, 96 Wadsworth as well.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
wasn't put on my packet. Also calling BOA 819-227, 96 Wordsworth Street. This is subdivide existing 2,986 square feet lot to create a new lot consisting of 2,010 square feet for 96 Wordsworth. No work other than to be done as a single family to remain. The remaining portion of 976 square feet lot shall be combined with and which filed in conjunction with the other 806 Saratoga Street. Violation of Article 53, Section 9, insufficient lot size. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient FAR. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space. And Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback.
Thank you, Secretary. I'm going to do this from memory because I believe somebody has my notes up there. So with respect to the proposal, this seeks to subdivide existing lot located in the very next neighborhood in the 3F 2000 district. We're going to take a portion of that land and give it to the existing lot that contains a single-story commercial building. The proposal is to take the commercial building, demolish that, replace that with a new three-family residential building, which would be intended for home ownership as condominiums. As a result, we require the zoning code for several items. The first would be for the use. 2F 3000 district, a three-family would be forbidden. I would point out that the existing commercial use is a non-conforming use, non-conforming structure. So it would essentially be replacing the present non-conforming use with a, I guess, less intrusive non-conforming use of a three-family dwelling. The second violation is the floor-to-area ratio. Let's see if I can get this right. It's a, I believe, a 1.16 for the total FAR that's being proposed, and that would include the amount of square footage that's being combined from the lot adjoining next door. The last would be the height of the building. Height in the 2F 3000 district is 2.5 stories or 35 feet, while we are under the 35-foot limit. At 30 feet, we would be required to seek relief for the more than 2.5 stories, so we're proposing 3 full stories. I would point out that the context of that neighborhood, there are a number of three-family dwellings or three-story dwellings. This design is based in large part upon the process that we've had with the community. Specifically, this project was originally proposed as a contemporary 4-story building with 4 units based upon comments that we heard from the neighborhood. We've modified the design with specific input from the direct abutter who's in the design field to make this building a little bit more traditional, a little bit more consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Based upon that, we understand that the neighbors are much more supportive of the proposal than what was originally proposed. I would point out that we have made a commitment with the direct abutter, and I want to just put on the record, based upon the long existence of the existing commercial building, which has been somewhat problematic to the tenants that have occupied the space. The proposal would be to immediately get in there and do some rodent remediation and to address some of the concerns well in advance of demolition that's expected to occur when the full building permit issues. In addition, we'll also take a look at some of the water issues on site. Obviously, with any new construction in the city of Boston, we're going to be required to improve the stormwater runoff conditions on the site and have approvals through the Boston Water and Sewer Commission. With that, I think I covered it all. With that, happy to answer any questions.
The drawings, Mr. Pisani.
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anyone here to testify in favor of the proposal?
Chairman, members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support for this project. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, to the Embassy Council of Lydia Edwards' office. She wishes to go on record in support.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
My name is Jillian Anderson. I'm at 810 Saratoga Street. I was in opposition of this building. The owners have repeatedly shown themselves to be disrespectful to the regulations of the city of Boston, and I consider myself a desperate neighbor at this point because there is a rat infestation in that abandoned building, which has repeatedly been called attention to the owner, and she has done nothing about it. So I would like to urge, I would have liked to have urged the board to hold off, postpone the approval of the variances until these problems were taken care of, because that seems to be the only leverage we have. However, in discussions with Attorney Linz beforehand, he committed to taking care of the rodent problem and the water problems before the filing of this variance is done. And if that happens, then I would remove my opposition.
Good, thank you. Okay, it's the pleasure of the board.
Pleasure of the board. I will, first of all, try to make a proposition that is there some way that we can tie that together, or that'll be taken care of? Let me stop myself for a second. Why don't we make a motion to approve, and I'm going to appeal to you guys to live up to your word on this.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I'm sorry, we need BPDA design review on that.
Yeah. All those
So-
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And I think an extremely strong feeling from the board to live up to your word.
So I can make the commitment on the record, Mr. Chairman, to Matt, that we will hold a decision, we won't file until such time to address two things. One, stated impact for residents immediately, and looked at the adjoining properties to ensure that those issues are being addressed. And secondly, to identify, we have a pretty good understanding of what the water issue is, to identify that for the neighbors and what the remediation will be based upon the construction.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Calling the next case. Calling BOA 835-789, 78 Waldemar Avenue. This is to erect a single-family home that violates Article 53, Section 57, conformity with an existing building alignment. Article 53, Section 9, the lot area is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the building height, number of stories is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 53, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joshua Osveda. This is my wife, Furs Osveda. We live at 226 Mary Street, East Boston currently. We're looking to build this house for ourselves, our family, our son and her mother. It would just be the four of us living there.
What are the zoning issues?
Dimensional regulations.
Can you speak up?
A little bit, sorry. That's just a, if you can just speak up.
Doesn't amplify.
Oh,
So you have to amplify. Personally.
Dimensional requirements, the lot area, in this zoning area it's 4,000 square feet. Our lot is 3,800 square feet. The floor to area ratio in this area is 0.5. Ours would be approximately 0.75, the floor to area ratio. The building height in this area is 35. Ours would be approximately 38 feet high. Building height rate of stories is 2.5. Ours would be 3 because the top floor, like, there might be two versions of the drawings in there. We actually submit the second one after the abutters. One of the direct abutters had an issue with the top floor. They wanted to push back from the front to the third floor, push back as opposed to having the gable roof that was currently on the original plan. So that's why we pushed that off. And I submitted those plans to the ISD, so I'm hoping that they're in there as well.
What is the proposed building height?
The proposed building height is 38.
38. And what is on the site now?
It's an empty lot currently.
All right, how are the drawings, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Does anyone want to speak on behalf of the project?
Chairman, members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. Also, the Civic Association Orange Heights, both in support for this project. Thank you.
And members of the board, Juliet, City Council, Lydia Edwards' office. She would like to go on record in support.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with continued BPA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Calling the last case for 10:30, calling BOA 825-355, 210 Webster Street. Is Webster Street here?
Yep.
This is to remove and replace the existing rear addition and its installation of a new foundation, crawl space, and an interior renovation of existing dwelling. The violation, Article 53, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Lyle Bradley, architect, letters from the JPNA Association and all butters.
Have there been any changes?
There has been one minor change, which I will highlight in the drawing that I have right here. I guess we're seeking to build new area within the rear yard setback, and that's highlighted in red on the drawings you guys have, and that's this area right here. It's also noted in the site plan on the second page where it is on the site. The house is at 210 Webster Street, obviously. This is a picture here of the front of the house from Webster Street. And what I will call the addition is that tiny little spot there between this side of the house and this other building here. So the original house was built in 1840, and this addition, which you can see from the back here, and as a close-up right here, was built in 1909. It's currently 10 feet wide, 38 feet long, and in the 3F 2000 district setback is 40 feet. This addition built in 1909 extends to within 25 feet of the rear yard of the property line. So we're proposing to expand this addition to the west by 4 feet. So building this out here and this new area. So we're not going any further back into the rear yard than the existing addition already is. But this is new area proposed to be built in the rear yard setback. We have support from all the immediate abutters, letters that you guys have, and the JPNA has also supported it. One change that did come about through the meeting with the abutters was that we had a trash shed, which we will locate here, and it was previously located within this rear yard setback area, and she felt that it was too close to the shrubs, which the client has nicely agreed to plant along this fence. So we agreed to move that trash shed here, so without, not in the rear yard setback, and that appeased everybody, and we got at the August 9th JPNA meeting, we received 29 of 32 possible votes in favor of the project. So anyway, the project has wide support. It's quite a small expansion, we feel, and doesn't need BPDA review.
Other drawings, Mr. Design?
Drawings are adequate.
Okay. Any questions from the board? The roof line is just going to continue? Is that how that's going to work?
It will, we're going to build a sort of a demising wall in between the two houses. So we'll build a new wall here. We're going to tear down the existing addition, and then the roof line will just extend a little bit higher, but the pitch will remain the same to get that.
All right. Is everyone here to speak in favor of the project?
You can sit down.
Chairman, members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. As the applicant mentioned, they received strong support from the direct abutters and also from Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association. Therefore, we would like to speak on record in support. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, Judy City Councilor Lydia Edwards' office. She wishes to go on record in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of the Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Anyone here to speak in opposition? Have a motion?
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
On the first case for 11:30 and rediscussions, BOA 617-813-173 Humboldt Avenue. This is an increased lodging from 10 to 20 persons, no work to be done, changing beds from 1 bed to 2 per room. Violation Article 50, Section 28, lodging house and conditional. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth Keeley, representing the
Board of Directors for Boston Rescue Mission, and with me is the CEO and President of Boston Rescue Mission, John Samar.
Can you remind us why you're here?
Yes, thank you. We have a petition to increase occupancy at the facility located at 173 Humboldt Avenue from 10 to 20. By way of background, the Boston Rescue Mission has been a social service agency here in the Boston community since 1899. And back in 2010, they purchased the property at 173 Humboldt. At that time, it was an abandoned building, and it was a blight on the neighborhood. Drug dealers were using the home. They fully renovated this 10-bedroom, 6-bath old Victorian home, and in 2011 contracted with the Veterans Administration to operate the Safe Haven program. This is a program for veterans who are homeless and are transitioning to permanent housing. It's open to men and women, and since the inception of the program in 2011, 245 veterans have transitioned through the Safe Haven program at 173 Humboldt Avenue. Back in 2016, we had a community meeting in December, and since then we have received the support which you have in front of you of 10 of our abutters, including our long-term time neighbors at 175 Humboldt. We share a fence with them. This is a multifamily, a community of multifamily homes. Back in 2017, this board approved a luxury condo development directly across the street from 173 Humboldt Avenue. That complex is now complete and selling 1 to 3 bedroom units at $440 to $475 a square foot. The least expensive condo unit in that building is $430,000 for a 1-bedroom. This is a neighborhood that is changing, but during the past 7 years that the Boston Rescue Mission has been running the Safe Haven program, it has become and is a community partner. They work with the Trotter School, which is a neighborhood school, providing food for their food pantry, and for the past 6 or so Thanksgivings have given out over 200 turkey dinners to the families that have children in that school. The men of the veterans, who mostly men, but there is a woman who's staying there now, spend most of their time working on their health issues and finding permanent housing. The VA is, and staff from Boston Rescue Mission are there 24/7. This is a supervised program, and it is monitored very closely by the Veterans Administration. It is, the staff from the Boston Rescue Mission are there, as I said, 24/7. The men transition out successfully to permanent housing. This is a model program that was started by the Veterans Administration about 7 years ago, and the Safe Haven initiative here that the Boston Rescue Mission runs, it is one of the highly ranked programs in the country, meaning that more veterans have transitioned successfully to permanent housing through this program. We are, as I mentioned, the men are members of the community, but for the most part stay in the house. They do not own automobiles. They rarely have visitors, and their focus is moving on to permanent housing. Let me see what else I can add to this.
Appreciate all the context. Can you remind us why this is here for rediscussion?
Because we need approval to increase occupancy. The building has been approved by ISD. It meets the requirements to increase the occupancy of the facility, but we need board approval to do so.
What's your occupancy right now?
10.
And you want to go to 20?
We want to go to 20.
Put 2 in a room instead of 1 in a room right now. The rooms are spacious, and ISD have
approved, there's no renovation necessary. The facility is in very good condition. Turner Construction just came in and renovated the whole basement for free for us. They spent over $200,000 in renovation to turn the basement as an activity room. It's very difficult for us as an agency to run the facility 24 hours, provide full meals and full 24-hour staff, and run it on 10 people. It's very expensive, and plus the VA is desperate for space for expansion for people that need the facility.
Is it sprinkled?
It's sprinkled,
fire
it's
protected?
fully, yeah. And the VA does 4 inspections a year. We do every quarter a full fire inspection in the facility. We have never had a violation. There was never a violation with the neighborhood. We had been a model citizen. We have been in operation for 120 years as an agency. I have been the president of the mission for 26 years. We have a very stable staff there. We just need an expansion to be able to continue to operate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, in the packet, is that third picture the condo?
Yes, the condo across the street. It was an abandoned building, as you remember. In fact, they offered the building to us before they went to the condo. Yes.
My kids went to the condo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, there's not really any issue with drawings, but I guess I'll ask you the question anyway, Mr. Zanni.
Well, there were the previous drawings, and they were adequate.
Yeah, okay.
But to get to Mr. Ehrlich's earlier question, this is the 4th time that you've been here. What was the cause of the 3 other deferrals?
The reason for the deferrals is we've been working very candidly with the neighborhood services, and there are 2 community groups that have voiced their opposition to it. They're not neighbors, they are organizations, but have never provided us with any specific claim for why this program should not be expanded. When we had the community meeting in December of 2016, where there were just a handful of people that appeared, 2 of whom were from Project Right, and another, Robert Red, was from the Neighborhood Association. And the complaints were that the window shades were often torn and that the men would sometimes smoke cigarettes out on the front porch. All of those 2 criticisms have been corrected, and those are no longer a problem. We have been open to meeting with these groups to find out specifically why it is that they oppose this. And all we hear is that, well, there are too many rooming houses in this area. This is not a rooming house. This is a supervised program for veterans. It is staffed 24/7, and it is supervised well. The supervisor is here, Tim Smith, who can answer any specific questions you might have. We also have a graduate of the program, Peter Osei, who was a veteran from the Vietnam War who participated in the program in 2013. He successfully transitioned to permanent housing, and we hired him back, and he's here this morning if you have any questions.
So I think what we'll do, hopefully, if any of these issues will come out in public testimony, that's why we have testimony. So let me move to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Fine.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the project?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Hang on. Are there any elected officials? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, so my name is Tim Smith. I've been the program manager since it's opened in 2011. Just to add to what these folks said, we have upwards of 10 veterans all the time, and of the 245 or so have served, none of them have had vehicles. I think 2, and so we don't take up any parking in the neighborhood. We really try to be good neighbors. We do snow blowing and shoveling for our next door neighbor. We have a funeral home right next door who veterans help out clean their cars. They get a stipend for it, and but every year he hires them to help clean his cars and shovel snow. So we really do try to be good neighbors. We have within 300-400 yards, I think we have 5. There's 3 markets, a barber shop, and a pizza place. Not once in the 7 years have we had a complaint from any of them. I don't believe in the 7 years that any of our neighbors have ever called the police on any of our veterans. So we really have a focus on being a good neighbor. We have Some people signed documentation for us. Myself and the Vice President, Mr. Wade, we've actually walked the neighborhood to talk to our neighbors to see if there's anything we can help to improve our station in the neighborhood. So we were really proactive in trying to be good neighbors. I thank you for your time. Yep.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the project?
Acting Chair, members of the board, Joshua McFadden, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I'd like to go on record in opposition at this time.
Could you elaborate why you're in opposition?
So many that the applicant named, but I know right offhand, I was just told to make sure that I say with the opposition, but also because of the expansion of 100% beds at this time. I think the neighborhood doesn't want to see expansion of 100%, and that's why we're in opposition.
Good morning. Megan Kamel from Councilor Sabi George's office. We'd like to echo ONS and the concerns from Project Right over about the 100% increase in occupancy.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Would the board like to hear from Mr. O'Shea?
I have one question.
Okay, thank you.
At least one. Are you going to expand the oversight in the building as well, if you're fortunate enough to get the expansion?
Yes, absolutely. If we get more expansion, we bring more staff to the facility to provide more supervision.
What do you plan on in terms of numbers? Because you have one person
Well,
on staff.
we will have a supervisor and a staff in the facility when we do that, when we do the expansion. So there will be 2 people, especially through the active time of through the morning, through the afternoon. In the evening, we will have, because people are sleeping at nighttime, the plan is to continue to have 1 staff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to oppose.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposition to the motion?
Aye.
Okay, we'll record.
The opposition, the motion was to oppose the request.
Is it not? That's correct.
I'm in favor.
Of the motion.
No, I'm opposed to the motion.
Okay, the motion still passes. So unfortunately, the request has been denied.
So may I ask the board, is there an opportunity, since what Josh McFadden represented is 100% increase, whether or not they would consider an increase of some sort, but not 100%?
Well, I would suggest that the motion as it stood, of the doubling, has been denied. I would suggest you speak to the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services and see if we can work something out.
Okay. Thank you.
So what?
I think there's a lot of respect for the work that you do.
Well, and it's candidly very surprising to me that the focus has been on veterans by the mayor and his administration. I know, but this is...
The vote is done. I would suggest you have that conversation.
We've been having a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair,
Thank you.
Just a moment. Comment. I would again suggest, if any kind of expansion, that you take it out to the community first and have these conversations. That way you will have more support than you do right now. I would believe.
We have.
We'll try again. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We go on to the next 2 cases, calling BOA 694-031, 31 Woodlawn Street. There is a companion case, BOA 694-028, 33 Woodlawn Street. This is for 31, to demolish an existing attic roof and construct a new 3rd floor level, construct a new exterior decks in the rear yard, change occupancy from 2-family to 2-family dwelling to 3-family dwelling. Off-street parking for this building will be located at 33 Woodlawn. Violation Article 55, Section 40, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the lot area for additional dwelling units is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 55, Section 9, the building height, number of stories is excessive. Article 55, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. This is for 33 Woodlawn, erecting new 3-story, 3-family dwelling. There will be 6-vehicle parking garage located beneath the building. Parking garage will also be used by 31 Woodlawn. It's constructing new exterior decks in the rear yard. Violations, Article 55, Section 40, Off-street parking is insufficient. Article 55, Section 8, ancillary parking is conditional. Article 55, Section 9, lot area is insufficient. Article 55, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 55, the building height number of stories is excessive. Article 55, usable open space is insufficient. Article 55, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 55, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston. On behalf of the petitioner, with me is Peter Keene. He's the owner of the property at 3133 Woodlawn Street. As the Secretary indicated, this involves two parcels of land in the Jamaica Glen neighborhood. First, at 31 Woodlawn, proposes to change the occupancy from a two-family to a three-family dwelling. That would involve the renovation of the interior and the exterior of the building. Each unit would be 3-bedroom, 2-bath for this particular site, and about 1,100 square feet per unit. Our total gross floor area for this building is 4,480 square feet. Because this property is located in the 3F 5000 district, a three-family, although it would be allowed as a matter of right, there are a number of dimensional items that we do require relief for. With respect to the lot area, the minimum lot area is 3,000 square feet. There is a requirement of 2,000 square feet for each additional proposed unit, so we request a variance for that. I would point out that 3,500 square feet is very typical for this section of Jamaica Plain and for all of the lots on that street. The floor area ratio that we're proposing for this is 1.28, which is an increase from the current 0.83. The allowable limit is 0.6, and therefore we require variance for that. Usable open space is 750 square feet for the first dwelling unit, and 500 square feet for each additional dwelling unit proposed. We're slightly below that at about 1,400 square feet total. For the side yard, the requirement is 7 feet in this particular district, provided that you have at least 10 feet from adjoining building. A total aggregate of 17 feet is required. While the right side condition of the existing property would be an existing condition that is not being altered, the left side of the proposed new building would be less than the 17-foot requirement and therefore require a side yard variance. For the rear yard, the requirement is 20 feet in the district. However, there is a shallow lot exception. 87.5 feet is the depth of this lot, and therefore would be entitled to subtract 6 inches from each foot that's required under the zoning code, provided that we're not below 15 feet. The building itself will be about 20 feet from the rear property line. However, the decks do protrude slightly into the rear yard, but we believe that's a feature that is not objectionable in this particular neighborhood. With respect to off-street parking, we'd only require one additional parking space because the two units that exist do not necessarily require any parking. These are separate lots that have existed and assessed separately for some time. However, we are proposing a total of 6 parking spaces in conjunction with the proposed 3-unit building located immediately next door. So there will be 1 space per unit for the existing structure. With respect to the proposed 3-unit structure that we're proposing at 33 Woodlawn, each of these would be 2-bed, 2-bath, at about 1,200 square feet per unit. The total gross floor area is about 4,060 square feet for this building. And again, because we're in the 3F 5000 district, the 3-family would be allowed by right. There are a number of dimensional areas where we require relief under Article 55. First, again, the lot area being 3,500 square feet requires additional 2,000 square feet for each unit proposed, so a variance is being requested. Our total FAR is 1.16, 0.6 is the requirement, but I would submit that it's quite consistent with the floor area ratio and gross floor area that's in the particular neighborhood. Again, same argument with the side yard requirement. We would be slightly under the 17-foot requirement between the proposed building and the existing building, and about 14 feet between the building to the left of the proposed new building on our building. We would be able to meet the 7-foot requirement. We just wouldn't be able to meet the requirement of the separation between the 2 buildings. Again, rear yard, we're proposing to keep the alignment of the rear of these buildings consistent with that block. The 20-foot setback can be reduced to 15 feet as well for a shallow lot exception. And again, just the decks protrude slightly into the rear yard. The number of stories, although we are at the 35-foot height limit, the calculation as to where the first story is described is based upon how much of the first level is above 65% or 65% above grade. In this case, because we are proposing the garage, we do require relief in the number of stories. However, for all intents and purposes, the building is in line with the height limit that's set for that particular district. Last but not least is off-street and ancillary parking. Ancillary parking is a conditional use. where you're proposing to use your lot for parking for another lot, you do require a conditional use permit from this board. Because we are proposing all of these parking spaces to be located under the building at 33 Woodlawn, we are requesting conditional use permit for that as well. By way of process, briefly, Mr. Chairman, we've had a very extensive community process and engaged with direct abutters and neighbors who have been very, very involved in this process for some time. We have, and I will submit for the board to be included with the building jacket for this, a very comprehensive memorandum of understanding and commitment concerning construction and construction mitigation. This has been a product of something that's been negotiated directly with the abutters and the neighbors on that street, and we feel that it captures a lot of the responsibilities that this developer is going to be expected to achieve. Mr. Keene is a resident of Jamaica Plain. He's very sensitive to construction and development in the community. He certainly has no issue with this becoming part of the record, so I'd like to include this as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you again remind the board why this is
deferred?
Your discussion.
So we were before the board about a month ago. We had provided a copy of the memorandum. The neighbors wanted a little bit more of an opportunity to review it before agreeing to it. We've had a chance to have some back and forth dialogue. We've made some amendments. We've signed the agreement and delivered to the neighbors. I know they are here. I'm not sure whether they'll speak, but they do have an agreement which we understand to be the agreement of the parties.
So the MOA is modified from the version that
That's correct. Okay, that's correct.
Okay. I'm having a little trouble just sort of visualizing the way the parking works. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So if you go to the, probably start with the elevation that shows the proposed for 31 and 33.
Yeah.
You
A5R, yeah.
You see a garage located to the middle.
In the middle,
that's
yeah.
essentially.
And there's a curb cut in the middle between the two buildings?
That is correct. Essentially, that will be the entire foundation of 33 Woodlawn, the new structure that we're proposing, but the setback would begin at the first living level, which would move the building over. So the design would look as if these are standalone buildings. However, the garage level fills out a good portion of the width of the lot to ensure that.
But it's not really underground.
The portion to the rear is. This property slopes upwards towards the street located directly behind it. Okay. So we are taking advantage of some of the slope in order to use that lower level for the garage, and that's one of the reasons why we were cited for the height.
Okay. All right, that was the part I couldn't figure out. All right. How are the drawings, Mr. Mazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Okay, any questions from the board? Who's here to speak in favor of the project?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Alexandra Valdez, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record of support after an extensive community process and come into an agreement with all the neighbors. I would like to make sure add on record that the MOU gets put and gets recorded today with all the neighbors who are here to speak, making sure that it goes on file.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Will Poff Webster with City Councilor Matt O'Malley's office, representing Jamaica Plain. We'd also like to go on record in support. There have been a lot of very engaged neighbors in this process. They've done a lot of work to make sure that the construction won't negatively impact their neighborhood, and we're glad to see that they were able to come to a solution. Thank you.
Megan Camella from Councilor Sabi George's office. We'd like to echo ONS and O'Malley's office. Thank you.
My name is Louise Outler. I live at 83 Woodlawn Street. I've been part of the group of neighbors who've been engaging with the developer on this project. We have had an extensive process, and we have finally come to an MOU that we feel comfortable with. We are curious about enforcement of such a thing. What happens in the event that provisions are not met? Do we have any recourse? And I'll continue to work with the local officials to find out about that. And as a group, could I just see the neighbors' hands? There are 4 of us here today. There were 8 at the last meeting. Woodlawn Street is a dead-end street, heavily developed, lots of buildings. There are a few empty lots because of ledge conditions, but it's very. I would say it's maximally subscribed for parking on our street. And this is only one of a number of developments that have been proposed for this street. And I would encourage or request that the board look holistically at requests for development, particularly on these dead-end streets in Jamaica Plain, because although each one may be able to, be brought forward, it has an overall effect on the street to have so many units added to an already full street. So we look forward to seeing how this process plays out. Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in opposition? What, is these rental or condos? All right, then motion, please.
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review with the proviso that that MOU is connected to this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. No second.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 819-529, 48 to 62 Brookline Avenue. This is a build-out of retail store with new entryway at street level. The violation, Article 32, Section 4, G-card applicability. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Peter Walsh, 26 Clayton Street, Citywide Contractor. To please the board, we'd like to defer this to a future time. We're still working with the surveyor, the engineer, and the groundwater trust in order to get this approved.
Motion for deferral.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Deferred.
You were deferred to November 27th. November 27th.
Thank you.
On the last case for 11:30, calling BOA 818-498, 181 Cowper Street. This is erecting new 3-story building with 9 residential dwelling units and 14 parking spaces and combined lot of 13,350 square feet. Violation Article 10, Section 1, off-street parking shall not be located less than 5 feet from the side lot line. Article 53, Section 8, a multifamily dwelling is forbidden use. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 53, Section 57.2, conformity with existing building alignment. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive in feet. And Article 53, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jeff Drago with Drago Cascano, with address of 15 Broad Street, representing Josh Fenneman from CFP and the developer of 181 Cowper and Guarantee just at the park, the architects on the project. So just to reiterate, we're proposing to combine 2 separate lots, demolish an existing abandoned 2-unit structure and erect a 3-story building with 8 units and 14 parking spaces. These are all 2-bedroom proposed. Just to give you a little background, we have been meeting on this project for the better part of 18 months with the community. We have significantly reduced this, along with reducing units, which at the beginning was 16-unit project. The last time we were before this board, we deferred, we were at 9 units. We went back to meet with our direct abutter, who now has submitted a letter of support that I just gave to the board. We are now down to 8 units, 14 parking spaces. We've managed to, since our last meeting, deferral, we managed to take away our parking, FAR, rear setback violations. So on the new plans Mr. Pizzani has, the violations that we seeking variances for, obviously a 2F4000, that's 8 units, so the unit count. Building height, we do meet the 35 feet, however, we're at 3 stories and 2.5, which is what's allowed under the code, and front yard minimum 15 or 2 more, that's blend in with the rest of the buildings. As was mentioned, we've even changed the design to a traditional design in the front, which is exactly what the folks in the community wanted. We've increased parking, increased our landscape. We have a 40-foot rear setback across the entire property line. So we've really tried to accommodate all of the concerns that we can pause for any questions if you have.
Yeah, no, we've been through this one before. How the drawings, Mr. Pizzani?
Drawing's very nice.
Okay. And Mr. Pizzani has the current up-to-date drawing. Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the project?
Members of the board, Jesus Garcia with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I would like to make clear that this was a controversial case, and the applicant, they worked for more than a year with the abutters. They tried to complain, they address the concerns about parking and the number of units, and they reduced the last proposal for 8 units and 14 parking spaces. Therefore, we would like to go on record in support for this project. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, Julie Edison, Councilwoman in the Edwards office. She wishes to go on record in support.
Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Can I have a motion?
Motion for approval, BPDA design.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion so passed.
Mr. Chair, the last order of business is the advisory committee, the meeting that we had last Thursday, September 20th, 2018. We just need a vote of approval once I go through them. First case, BOA 844-7289 Ludlow Street, was to build a new roof deck. It was approved. Case BOA 861-252-886 East 2nd Street, was a proposal for first floor addition, a new pantry reconstruct deck. It was approved. Case BOA 838-550-156 O Street, was to construct a new private roof deck at Unit 2 with access with spiral stairs. It was approved. Case BOA 833-304-209-215 Boston Street, was a front yard, was a proposed side and vertical addition, expanding existing garage. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 859-171, 1246 to 1250 Mass Ave was deferred to October 30th, 2018. Case BOA 850-237-215 Tudor Street. It was change of occupancy from a storage to funeral home to storage. It was approved. Case BOA 849-581-161 Blue Hill Avenue was removed proviso. The previous owner was approved. Case BOA 845-799-138 Cushing Avenue. It was a renovate third floor in existing single-family home, an enlarged dormer. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 852-769 14 Spring Garden Street was a change of occupancy from a single-family dwelling to a two-family dwelling. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 850-876-147 Elmer Road. It was erect a one-story addition in front of the house with a two-story addition in the rear. Was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 840-223-33 Glide Street with proposed two-story rear addition. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 836-842-36 Oak Crest was a change in garage door from a 30 to a 36-inch door. It was approved. Case BOA 761-099, 96 Rosewood Street. It was a proposed two off-street parking. It was approved. BOA 842-882, 368 Center Street. It was a change of occupancy from a jewelry boutique to a takeout restaurant. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 852-368, 34 Greta Road. It was a one-story family room and kitchen extension. It was approved. BOA 849-486, 2 Summer Street. It was a 16 by 24 pre-built shed. It was approved. BOA 863-367, 128 Brighton Avenue. It was a change of occupancy from existing retail to restaurant. It was approved with BPDA. And then the last case was rediscussion. It was case BOA 795-073, 47 Maple Street. They were a no-show, so it was a denial without prejudice. That is the complete. Just need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Hearing is